we are um, telling you that our friend, our friend Cuckoo passed on today. I want to say good evening to my friends on YouTube. Good evening, YouTube. How you do? Welcome and thanks for joining us today for this show. Cuckoo was always at the Labour Party meetings, um, always providing these great songs, and you know he was a featured at most of the Labour Party mass meetings. So rest in peace, Cuckoo. Just put it down. Yeah. Rest in peace, Cuckoo, and we hope that you will. Um, Rest in peace, brother.
Make some noise and make welcome.
Okay, so the Senate is actually right. Let's do a little bit more of this. 61 years old.
I was having this day unto me. Come let us go into the house of the Lord. Our feet shall abide in his house. Jerusalem, our servant is Lord. Jerusalem.
May his soul rest in peace and light perpetually shine upon him. Um, there are lots of um, wishes coming in for Mr. Cuckoo, and I know he will be thoroughly missed. So, as I said earlier, the Senate is meeting at this time. I think they are still meeting. The NaRRA bill is being debated in the Senate, and there are some very interesting things coming out of that. I should tell you that at 7:30 we're going to be joined by Natalie from Jamaica Politics Uncovered. Natalie will be joining us at 7:30 to discuss a few things with us. We look forward to that. Um, and then we're going to go down to the Senate later on and give you some of the highlights. And of course, Harry will come on and break that down for you later on. Moderator Caroline has um, taken the weekend off. I think she's enjoying her Mother's Day somewhere in New York. Wherever you are, Caroline, good evening to you. I hope you will enjoy your weekend. and we hope to see you back here on Monday. This is a Mother's Day weekend. We say Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers. Yeah, hope you have a great weekend. There's a strange unraveling happening right now, very strange. Not just the concrete after Melissa, but the political soul, the political soul of a party that once claimed to be the voice of the people. You should hear Lambert Brown in the Senate today. They don't need NaRRA. The message coming out of the Senate from Mr. Brown is that Jamaica don't need NaRRA. And so the PNP is continuing their cry of no. They're continuing to say no to Jamaica's reconstruction under NaRRA. But can I tell you this? That on the ground, the people aren't saying no, Please tap and share the live for me. Tap and share. On the ground, the people are not saying no. By the way, Shafreen? Hello, Shafreen? I'm not.
Yes, neighbor. Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, you wanted me to big up someone. I can't pronounce his name.
Pardon? I didn't hear you.
Aisha Speed, is that the name?
Yes. Yes.
Well, go ahead.
So big up to Aisha Speed. He is currently touring Jamaica, and we want to give him a warm welcome here from Politics Plus. Hello, neighbor.
Yes.
And we hope he enjoys his stay. And it was so nice to see him. He likes beef patty, apparently. Loves beef patty, KFC.
Like me.
So big up to you, Aisha Speed. Enjoy your vacation. Enjoy yourself. And I hope you come back to Jamaica more often. Yes.
All right. So big up Aisha Speed. Is Aisha Speed listening to the program? Will he be listening in?
I don't think he's listening to the program, but I'm sure somebody might know him and let him know that we big him up on this show, because it's nice to see him. He's in Jamaica, touring the Caribbean actually, but now he's in Jamaica, and our island looks small on the map, but it is Talawa. Looks tinier than Connecticut, but really land mass is the size of Texas.
Yeah.
Because of the mountains. Mm-hmm. So there's lots to see in Jamaica.
Yeah. All right. Aisha Speed, pick up yourself, and we hope to link with you one of these days. So, all right, Shafreen, take care of yourself. So Caroline is enjoying herself. She's off, eh?
Absolutely. Yeah, and I'm so happy for Caroline. Spending time with her daughter and stuff. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, great. Have a fantastic evening, Caroline. All right. So I'm expected to get Natalie at 7:30. That's another 15 minutes.
Yes.
By the way, Shafreen, those super chats. You have any super chats there on YouTube?
None right now, but we do have a goal for 10 super chats for this show. So the goal is pinned at the top, top of the screen.
Yeah. As soon as you get the super chats, you let me know.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
No worries. Who are on TikTok here? Today is Friday. Okay. You need to send your contribution to the show before the show ends today. Okay. Don't let me have to remind you. You need to send a gift to the Politics Plus podcast, 954-635-8732. 954-635-8732. We have a live goal to be met, and we want you to contribute something to the show for this week. Okay, you haven't sent anything this week, please send at $20 or $30 or at $40 or $50 to 954-635-8732. Take a minute and do so now. We need your support to continue. I was telling you earlier before I joined Natalie that on the ground, the people are not saying no to NaRRA, you know. They're not saying no at all. And that's the dissonance. That's the gap. There's a gap between Parliament and the pavement. And that gap is where philosophies go to die. Right? There is a disconnect between what you see happening in the Parliament and what is happening on the pavement. And I tell you that the script of the next election has been written. Keep your ears to the ground. You see, it is easy to shout no from the podium in the Parliament. Yes, Hansard picks that up, and it looks principled on Hansard. But no starts to echo differently when the fisher folks in St. Anne can't reach Miami Bay. When the mother in Flankers asks if Providence Beach will ever be hers again. When the whole country is just asking, when do we start? And there are quiet whispers, I can tell you. There are quiet whispers from within the party, the PNP, because things are beginning to leak, you know. I am getting information that within the ranks of the opposition, they are disquiet. The PNP's house is beginning to unravel. My understanding is that some of the elders, the ones who carried the party through fire before, are saying the fire has gone out. Many are asking, what type of party is this? There's a fierce debate happening among party supporters, you know. It has been said that the party has become a mirror. Not a movement, mirror. That the PNP has lost its soul. Them say Mark Golding mash up the party. Let me be careful here, because you know you never reveal your sources. When the little birdies push things under your door, you never give up on your sources. They say Mark Golding mash up the PNP. PNP turned up on NaRRA's party, and it's no longer speaking up for and behalf of the people of Jamaica. What a precke. What a precke. Stay tuned for that, because it is unraveling. And my understanding is that it is going to drive the election that is coming up in the party. Party is very divided. Many are saying that Mark Golding led them astray, because when they They did not consult with their constituents, and now the constituents are turning against them. People on the ground are saying to their MPs, how dare you? How dare you go to Parliament and vote no? Some over in West St. James, especially in that parish, some are challenging their members of Parliament openly that they vote no. So they are saying that the party has become a mirror. Tap and share, please. Share the live, tap the screen, send a gift. Today is Friday. That the party is more concerned about protecting its leader, Mark Golding, than reflecting the will of the people. That is what is being said. That the party is protecting Mr. Golding and they don't business with the people. That at the very moment the nation screams Reconstruction, the party seem to be playing calculation. That's what I'm being told. You know, let me provoke you a little. Because what happens when a party's instinct for survival overrides a country's instinct for revival? I provoke you with that question. The instinct for survival versus the instinct for revival. The party wants to survive. The nation wants to be revived. What happens? The challenge here, you see, is that politics is about timing. Politics is about timing, and history is memory. Tap and share. Tap and share. Share the live, tap the screen. Send a gift. Send a gift to TikTok or send a gift to our Zelle account tonight, okay? 954-635-8732. Keep supporting your platform. And the memory of this moment might be this: that while bulldozers waited, the PNP debated. And while 6.7 billion sat on the table, the PNP said, not like this. And in doing so, they may have handed Andrew Holness something more powerful than money: the moral authority to build without them. And I understand that the party is divided because members are being forced to agree with something that their conscience is telling them to not agree with. It's the difference between courage and cage. One high-ranking member of the party, I understand, threatened to resign, but was persuaded because of the disquiet. They feel caged because it has been said that it's about protecting Mark Golding. The difficulty is, that if your supporters are not cheering in the streets, then you are not leading them. You are leaving them. If your supporters are not cheering in the streets, then you're not leading. You're leaving. And that is a problem that is happening here now. That the supporters are leaving the party. You see what is happening to the Conservative Party in the United Kingdom? In the United Kingdom, they had their local elections last night. And based on the results coming out of the United Kingdom, Nigel Farage's Reform Party is now the largest party in the United Kingdom, beating Labour and beating the Conservative. And the pundits in the United Kingdom are saying that if it were a general election, Nigel Farage would be Prime Minister. Less than 3 years after Keir Starmer won with over 400 seats, the Labour Party in the United Kingdom is now almost a minority party. You cannot lead if your supporters are leaving. And the supporters of the PNP are leaving the party because the party has lost its philosophical identity. It is no longer the party of the poor. It is the party of the powerful. And there are some in the party that are uncomfortable with it. Because they are disappointed elders that are suggesting that the legacy of the PNP is not being preserved. And there is a fraction in the party that is telling me that one of the great disappointments is that the party elected Golding as its leader. Because the image of the party is lost. There is further disappointment, because my understanding is that Crawford, that there are serious considerations that he could emerge as a strong contender. But he doesn't have the backing of some senior members of the party. And attempts to get them into his corner have failed. And that is why you see Mr. Crawford being very cautious. Yeah, because the hierarchy of the party are solidly behind the leader. And they feel that one more attempt at least go for the local. And if the party does well at the local elections, then it would pave the way for the party to press for defeating the Wholeness government. Yeah. But there are some senior members of the party that are disappointed that the legacy of Manley is not being preserved. That Mr. Golding is presiding over decline. So we have to ask some questions tonight. Is the PNP defending democracy? or defending distance from power? Is the opposition self-isolating? Because what they have dressed up as principle is not principle. Because in a post-Melissa Jamaica, no isn't just a vote. It's a position. A position. And I'll tell you that positions have consequences. And the most dangerous consequence of all is becoming irrelevant to the very people you swore to represent. The PNP has dealt a devastating blow to its political image. It is hurting itself. It is hurting itself. And I cannot understand why.
6:30 a.m.
There is not revolt against this. But I understand that those persons who dare to speak are always, shut down. Let me take you to the parliament and share with you a little of what came out there today from the government side. Now, I'm going to introduce you to one of the government speakers, not one that has a national profile, but I found her presentation to be
Senator Scott Motley.
very, very thorough. All right, so she's going to be coming up now from the Senate.
Senator Rose Bennett Cooper.
Senator Rose Bennett Cooper. A government senator, one of the new ones. Listen to her.
Mr. President, may it so please you, Mr. President. Mr. President, I considered long and hard how I would address the issue of NaRRA today, because there are many approaches that could be taken. And I have listened carefully all day to all that has been said. And I believe, Mr. President, that perhaps what I should do is to begin on a tone of lest we forget. Let us remember. Mr. President, there are moments in the life of a nation when leadership is tested not by convenience, but by crisis. These are moments when a country must decide whether it will merely recover or whether it will rise transformed. Hurricane Melissa has become a defining test of Jamaica's resilience, preparedness, and national resolve. And we seem to have forgotten what Melissa did. Long after the winds subsided and the flood waters receded, what remains are not simply damaged buildings and broken infrastructure. What remains are the faces of Jamaicans who are trying to make sense of loss. We have all seen the images. Let us not forget. Mothers beneath torn tarpaulins, as we call them in Jamaica, holding their children close as rainwater seeps into the ground beneath them. Fathers standing in silence where their homes once stood. Roof gone, walls broken, everything exposed. Let us not forget. Children staring at the remains of their school, their books ruined, their bags covered in mud, and their routines just completely shattered. We seem to have forgotten. Many of us, perhaps not all, have seen the images of entire communities being cut off. No roads, no bridges, no access. The only thing they have is uncertainty. Mr. President, these are not isolated tragedies. They are part of a national pattern that Jamaica has endured for generations. And yet, Mr. President, Hurricane Melissa has changed the scale of the conversation entirely. And that is a big part of what NaRRA is about. Let us not forget. Mr. President, Melissa was not simply another storm season event. It was the most powerful hurricane ever recorded to make landfall in Jamaica. Planning Institute of Jamaica estimates that the damage and losses associated with the passage of the hurricane total around 1.95.
All right, we can come back to the Senate today. We want to welcome with us today the host of Jamaica Politics Uncovered, Natalie. She's joining us from her studio somewhere across the world. Good evening to you, Natalie. How are you?
Hi, good evening, neighbor. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. I'd just like you to know that you are live on YouTube on the Hello Neighbor. You are live on the Hello Neighbor show. And Shefreen, are you hearing Natalie?
Yes, I can hear.
Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us. By the way, Natalie, tell us about your platform and tell us about your show.
So I'm the host of Jamaica Politics Uncovered 2.0. I have been running the channel for roughly 2 years now. And what we talk about over there is politics, social issues, politics, everything orbits politics. So it's everything that Jamaican people care about. And I care about the development of Jamaica.
Yes.
So that's what we discuss over there.
All right. So you are on YouTube.
Yes, I'm on YouTube.
I noticed today that you have over 57,000 subscribers. Congratulations.
Well, thank you.
Well, that's great. We just started on YouTube about a month ago. And our channel is growing too. So tell us a little bit about the Politics Plus Uncovered. Where did that name come from?
Well, neighbor, we are living in a time now where there is so much more transparency. Can you hear me?
Loud and clear. Loud and clear. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I can't hear you, but I can hear you now. So like I was saying, neighbor, we're living in a time now where there's so much more transparency.
Yes.
I mean, we didn't have social media as active and involved where politics is concerned, let's say during Portia Simpson Miller time, or before her. So with the platforms that we have available to us, the YouTube, the Facebook, TikTok is pretty new, but with those platforms, I feel like politicians, even though they see that there's more transparency, some of them still try to, in my view, do some things that's against what is righteous for the Jamaican people. And when they dare to try that, I think it's our duty to call it out, and likewise, when we see good things happening, we call it out as well. So hence the name Jamaica Politics Uncovered.
Good. Okay. How often does your show come on?
So I'm on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays at 8 p.m. now, 8 p.m. my time where I am. And I was doing a thing called War Room, where it would be me, Miss Karen Cross, and Michelle Stern. Everybody know we, because we're on YouTube. We share a lot in common, where our view on the whole politics and the whole social aspect and structure of Jamaica, we share that in common. So people have come to know us as Three the Hard Ways. So we just do the war room. So that's on Saturdays, if life allows us to participate all together at the same time.
Oh, that's fantastic. All right. I thank you for spending a little time. I know you want to go to the Cuban doctors, Natalie, but let me press you a little bit on the NaRRA, because it is so very topical. Are you disappointed of the general response of the People's National Party to the reconstruction of Jamaica, not only on the NaRRA, but generally since Hurricane Melissa? How do you think the PNP have led from the opposition benches?
Well, we've all experienced Hurricane Melissa. When I say we, I'm talking about GLP, PNP, and NOP.
You have been to Jamaica since the hurricane?
At least 3 times.
Wow. Oh, wow.
So we have all experienced Hurricane Melissa, or we have family and country in across parishes that I have friends even in parish of Westmoreland and others where people were just devastated, and some are still devastated.
Yes.
And so I don't think that there should be any politicization of the recovery, right? How the opposition has handled it. Of course, I'm saying the opposition because the government put it forward. They're in government. They were chosen to lead by the people. So we would really want to see what the opposition think. Will they agree with it? Will they oppose it? Well, the reason why the opposition is opposing it, neighbor, it just does not make any sense to me.
Right.
They're talking about accountability. They're talking about checks and balances. They're talking about there are no guardrails, and that is not true. We have a Public Accounts Committee. We have the Auditor General. Those guardrails cannot be automatically removed just because a new bill comes to the House.
Mm-hmm.
So those are safeguards for the Jamaican people and the Jamaican people money. So this argument that the PNP is making, it's not making any sense. I mean, I was thinking ahead because, from where I sit, they seem to obstruct everything, including what's good for the country. They have a history of doing that over the last 5 years, Mark Golding especially. So I was expecting them to oppose it, but I couldn't figure out under the circumstances on what basis they would have done so. But lo and behold, they come, the same thing that they campaign on, say the Prime Minister thief, this are corrupt, that they corrupt without evidence, okay? So it's the same line of argument that they're using, that the government of a thief or something like that, and they're basically dooming NaRRA before it even started.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
I listened a little bit to the Senate today. I didn't get a chance to listen to all of it, but I heard a presentation that we do not need NaRRA, that the current bureaucracy is capable of executing the recovery of the hurricane. That argument, Natalie, tells me that the PNP probably are not au fait. They're not reading exactly the bill, or they're not aware of how the magnitude of the reconstruction. How could they go to Parliament to say we don't need NaRRA?
That line of argument seems to come from a place of misinformation, because the Prime Minister and the government already explained that NaRRA is an emergency response to a natural disaster and a national disaster, okay? So what NaRRA does is NaRRA expedite everything that we plan to do to reconstruct and to recover. And when we say reconstruct and recover, we're talking about infrastructure. We're talking about things like hospitals, schools, roads, which have all been impacted in the disaster areas. So you cannot respond to NaRRA respond to the hurricane like you would respond to any other thing. The hurricane was a severe severe catastrophic disaster. So you have to have a response that matches, what we have in the aftermath of Melissa. So I don't think they understand that what the government is trying to do is to deal with the aftermath of the hurricane at a faster pace. The people in them constituencies, them don't have time to wait for bureaucracy and all the things that would delay the recovery. They don't have time. They don't have the luxury of time. They don't have the luxury of going to parliament and voting against their own interests. And this is one of the things that I've been talking about the last couple of days.
Yes.
Do you think, neighbor, although you're the one asking the questions here, but do you think that the people that they're representing would be happy to hear that their representatives and their MPs went to parliament and voted against their interest, which is the development or redevelopment or reconstruction of their communities? I don't think the people would be happy about that.
Well, as a matter of fact, I am hearing that the constituents are asking questions. How could you have gone to parliament and voted no? How could you have voted no against reconstruction? But you know, Natalie, and I'm going to deal with this maybe next week or sometime, because Jamaica is suffering from a high level of under education, and within that you have what is called civic illiteracy. A lot of people are taking their cues from their MPs, and they just feel that if them MPs up there so and know everything, and therefore whatever the MP say, so we go. We'll work with anything them say. And I think that they feed off the ignorance of people, and that's why they get away with it over and over again.
Yes, that's true. And I want to also ask your audience a question. Do we ever, as Jamaicans, as voters, do we ever ask our leaders and our representatives, how did you vote on that bill when you went to parliament? That's important. It's very important to know how your representative is voting when they go to parliament. It's important to know what bills are before the House and all these things. So yes, there's a great deal of illiteracy where government structure and all these things are concerned. And it is the job of these representatives to educate their people, although it should be done in our schools as well. But what about those who have no school to go back to? They need to know what is going on. And that's why I think it's important that the people in Jamaica who say them are activists or whatever title they want to hold, they need to make the people know, those in the disaster area, let them know that there was a bill before the House. And no matter who the member of parliament is, walk with a list of all their names and see how they voted and hand it out to the people then. If that's what you got to do to educate the people, then that's what you got to do. Get all the names. There's a record. There should be a record.
Yes.
In the parliament with how every 63 member of parliament voted. Who was there, who no vote, who never show up, who vote yes, who vote no, and bring it to the people and show them how they voted. Simple as that.
Yeah. Natalie, you have the benefit of living in another country where there's vastly more resources than Jamaica and probably more culturally aware, exposed people. How do you think that the Jamaican government have responded to the crisis so far?
You mean the hurricane?
Yes.
Okay, so the government of Jamaica, in their capacity, they responded, in my opinion, very efficiently, right? And I don't think that they waited until the last minute or did have them hand up in the ear looking for a rescue. I don't think that was their position. And you can see that, neighbor, in the preparation, the economic disaster
Risk management. Mm-hmm.
Yes, by the former finance minister, who, by the way, will be awarded in Atlanta, Georgia, next weekend on May 16th. And he will be awarded by an organization, an education fund organization that is having a ball, and they've recognized and they've acknowledged what he has done. But we're not the only ones who recognize Dr. Nigel Clark for what he did, right? You have people like the IMF, people like World Bank and all those financial gurus who saw what he did and, you know, the whole catastrophic bond and everything like that. So that, in my opinion, was a preparation way in advance for something like a Melissa. But when we get to the immediate response after the hurricane, I think the government did well. I think they deployed the Jamaica Defense Force. I think they had the airport open in 2 days?
Yes.
After the hurricane. So you had, you know, people and things coming into the country. And of course, you saw how the world rallied with Jamaica. You saw people from these big financial institutions who came to Jamaica just to observe. And even they commented to say that Jamaica did a fantastic job. We couldn't do any better than we did, neighbor.
Okay, fantastic. Natalie, the Prime Minister of Jamaica said that when he was opposition leader, he gave instruction to his people to support certain bills in Parliament. Is it not true that the no vote reflects the position of the leader of the People's National Party?
You're talking about the no vote of those on the opposition side?
Correct. That Mark Golding would have influenced the vote because parties caucus before votes and come together and say this is going to be our position. I am saying if Mark Golding wanted to support the bill, he would have instructed his members, let's go to Parliament and support this. They take their cue from the leader. Is this not a reflection of Mark Golding's obstructionist approach, where he is deliberately attempting to put roadblocks in the way of the government? That's my view.
You could say that, yes. And that is not to say that people are not allowed to have their own opinion. We all know that a member of the government side, Marlene Malaho, she supported the bill, but she had some constructive suggestions on how to improve the bill. And that was discussed openly, that was debated openly, that was, you know, an open dialogue, which I don't think there's a problem.
But could you countenance members of the opposition voting yes?
Do I know of anybody over there?
Could you countenance it? Could you imagine members of the opposition going to Parliament to vote yes when Mark Golding is saying no?
Neighbor, I don't think there was one yes vote from the opposition. I don't think. And I think if Mark Golding and the PNP had a general attitude of let's obstruct this, I don't think there's anybody over there who would, on their own terms, from their own independent mind, would go in there and vote for it. They would rather not vote. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
So this is why I strongly suggest and I strongly advise that the Jamaican people, they need to see the list of who voted yes, no, and didn't vote at all. It is important. And how could anybody sit out a vote like this on a most important bill? Nobody should have been absent. I don't care which side you're on. Unless you're sick or you're hospitalized, but nobody should have not voted.
Quite. Now, how do you think this is going to play, Natalie, in the politics going forward? Do you think that the credibility of the PNP is strengthened by their lack of support for Reconstruction? Or do you think that the people of Jamaica will eventually punish them for it?
It all goes back to whether the people are educated. If the people don't know about the bill or who voted how, then you won't have an educated electorate.
Yes.
So it is important that the people of Jamaica, and especially those in the disaster areas, they must be made aware of how their representatives voted. That will determine whether the PNP is held accountable for obstruction or not.
Well, that is fantastic. Now, If NaRRA succeeds, Natalie, the political argument is that a successful implementation of NaRRA benefits the government politically and would virtually lock out the PNP and give Holness a fourth term. Now, I was speaking with someone today, and I will tell you that there is what is called the misery index. And the misery index rises in a country through inflation. When there is a downturn in the economy, people's disposable income get tight. They tend to blame governments. The rising cost of oil and all of that is having an impact on the shelves. NaRRA becomes even more potent in this environment as a stimulator of economic activities, creating jobs. It has the ability of, kind of resetting the economy. And therefore, a successful NaRRA, no doubt, will give the government great props. You can imagine going around in year 3, cutting ribbons, opening roads, and all of that. Do you think, Natalie, that the politics of this moment is what has guided the PNP obstruction?
So, the government getting a fourth term, in my opinion, is not going to be just dependent on the success of NaRRA. Because there are other things that need to be fixed in Jamaica. There's also the issue of growth. Yes, we can say that, okay, we were, hit by the hurricane and things like that. But you see, over the next 4.5 years, 4 years, or whenever the next election is, the government has to succeed with NaRRA, number one, and they have to make some progress where they left off the last general election. That's what I think. I think where growth and productivity are concerned, there needs to be some more improvement there. The government must keep crime down and continue to trend down. I think there needs to be some improvement, or more improvement, I should say, in healthcare. Because I know that the health minister has been working to, improve the healthcare system, but we need to see more improvement and development there. So they have their hands full. I mean, if we didn't have the hurricane,
yes,
it would be a different trajectory, and it would be a different plan, of course. But the government has a pretty decent burden if they want to form the next government, and it's achievable. It is.
Finally, on this, Natalie, what is the legacy you think that Golden is going to leave? As I doubt whether Golden will become prime minister, and so he's likely to retire as leader of opposition if he's not beaten in a race. What has Golden's contribution as opposition leader be? What is it? What will Golden be remembered for? When you look on Golden, what comes to your mind? What contribution has he made to Jamaica?
It depends on who's looking at him, neighbor. If you or I are looking at Golden, we are a little more knowledgeable about the depths of the politics and about Golden's time and stuff like that. But your average Jamaican who don't really pay too much attention. Them only know say Andrew Holness are the prime minister and Golden are the leader, the opposition and PNP leader. Those people, them just have a look at Mark Golden as a man who was just there in the PNP, and Jamaica never chose him because he not really have that spark. Jamaican politicians, they usually, whether they're opposition or government, they usually have one little spark about them, which is unmistaken. You understand? And he lacks that. I don't think we've ever seen that in the history of our politics. So your average Jamaican who not really pay too close attention, that's what they will see. My opinion is a little different. I see Mark Golding as a man who came into the leadership of the PNP as entitled, I see Mark, and I'm gonna use some very honest and maybe some colorful language here, but I'm not a bad word. I see Mark Golding as entitled. He's a liar. He's an obstructionist.
Hold on, he's a liar?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Golding is a liar?
Yes, he is. Yes.
Uh-huh.
Yes, I've heard him told several lies on the government.
Well, the Prime Minister himself called him a liar, you know, in the national debate. He's a liar.
Yes, he is.
Wow. Go ahead.
He's very, very dishonest on so many levels. He's intellectually dishonest. I mean, when you saw how the PNP campaign last election, it's the worst thing that we've ever seen, okay? And I don't have a problem with exciting and, highly contested elections. That's how it's supposed to be.
Yes.
Right? But there's a line that you do not cross.
Yes.
You don't character assassinate people. You don't tell lies on people. That is off limits for me. And Mark Golding did all of that.
Uh-huh.
And I do not respect people who operate that way. So he's disingenuous. He really is in an arena where he knows he cannot perform. He doesn't bring anything to the table. And for a man like that not to look at himself and say, listen, this job here is not for me. I can't do this. And to want to take a job that you know you cannot do and you cannot perform in, I think it is unpatriotic, and that onus is not just on him. The people around him see it just like I can see it. And the Jamaican people saw it, neighbor. They saw it on September 3rd. So, if I must be brutally honest, at the end of the day, what did Mark Golding contribute?
Yes.
To the position and to Jamaica? Nothing.
Nothing?
Nothing. He's an obstructionist.
Golding has contributed nothing to the politics?
He has contributed nothing. And if there's anybody who want to, debate me on that, they're free to do so.
Uh-huh. Wow.
Mark Golding was not able to unite the PNP. That's number one. He was able to bring the PNP to a viable place where they could contest a general election in a way that Jamaicans could take them serious. Most people tell you, no matter which side they dip on or no side, they will tell us that the PNP of today is unviable. We have never seen.
It's not a viable opposition.
No, and in my lifetime, I was born in the 80s, and in my lifetime, I have not seen a People's National Party that is unviable. I grew up in two constituencies that are still to this day PNP dominated, so I have seen the PNP perform. I come from one side of my family, the family that I grew up among, PNP, so I know the PNP can perform. And this right here is not performance. It's never been performance since, 2020 or whatever. It's just a bunch of people who became a set of crab in a barrel looking for a position, and they got it. And they just all came together and said, you know what, we've got an election. We've got to contest it, and that was it. But when you look at things like policy proposals, they didn't have one good policy proposal.
I'm sorry. My orange copy is giving my listeners a problem. They think I should. Yeah, go ahead, Natalie. I'm sorry. So you are saying that Golding's contribution as opposition leader, there is nothing that you can point out that you could say, here is a suggestion by the opposition leader that is of worth. Nothing.
From Mark Golding became the leader of the opposition in November of 2020. Mark Golding has contributed nothing, not even a good piece of advice to the government. He's not in government. But if he proposed good advice, we'll remember it. What I remember were policy proposal is concerned, or alternative policy proposal is concerned, when Mark Golding, as opposition leader, told the Jamaica government in COVID that they needed to slow down or stop paying down the debt and give the money to the Jamaican people. I have never heard anything in my life coming from a leader so reckless,
Yes,
so irresponsible, and a person like that should not be given an entire country to manage.
yes. And after Melissa, he said they should get 50 million each.
Including the MPs who were not in the disaster areas. Now you tell me,
Uh-huh.
why the whole of the PNP MP them should I get $50 million for what? That's not how we do things.
That was reckless, yes. Reckless indeed. Yeah,
Members of parliament and government, they don't put their hand for money.
true.
So we don't know what kind of style that.
Yeah. So in terms of his contribution to Jamaica's politics, do you think he has influenced the politics in a way that we could say, you know, Golding came, Golding did this, Golding left? How will Golding be remembered, Natalie?
Politically, I think he will be remembered as a person who used the most hateful, hate-filled rhetoric against his opponents. I've
Oh my
watched
God.
Coach Simpson Miller compete against Andrew Holness.
Oh my God.
I have seen it all, but I have never seen a Jamaican politician. I don't know if before me, because like I said, I was born in the 80s. But in my time, I have never seen a Jamaican politician on either side spoke of and dealt with their opponent in the way that Mark Golding
Has dealt with Mr. Holness.
And I don't understand why the people in the media landscape, mainstream media, nobody has challenged him on his language, the way that he be. I mean, there was one time where he was calling members of the government boy and little boy and them something. That's not what we do. He was called to apologize by the ombudsman. I'm not going to Jamaican and the ombudsman again, you know. Because when he did that, the ombudswoman asked him to apologize because you do not speak of your parliament colleagues like that. Boy and little boy. And when it's coming from a man who is an Englishman, a Caucasian Englishman, it can come off as racially insulting to a black man. And he said he would not apologize, neighbor. And these are the things why people like me, he has an insensitive or unaware kind of way about him. Another example is when he held up the shackles over Big Stone Head as a white Englishman. How do you do something like that and not be aware of the sensitivity of it?
Yes.
So he's unaware. He either has no respect for history, slavery, Jamaica's history with the British.
Colonial past. Mm-hmm.
Or colonial past, yes. So if you're not aware, if you don't have no respect for the history, if you don't respect black people and them things, you will go out there and do stuff like that and smile about it. We don't smile about it.
No, we don't.
Because we know our history. So that to me is a person, and thank God, during the last election, we had a psychiatrist in the Senate, Dr. Longmore, who put up the picture in the Senate of Mark Golding holding the shackles of a Big Stone Head and told Jamaica, this is abnormal behavior. So this was never a joke to me at any point in time. And that's what he will be remembered for. He's on the truth, yes.
In other words, the legacy of Golding is not going to be a pleasant one at all, eh?
Not just that, but the lasting effect on the opposition party. I don't know if they can recover from it.
You think Golding has damaged the image, the viability of the opposition PNP?
100%.
He has damaged it?
Yes, they have. So this is a wild guess by me. Over the next, make we say 15 years, if the JLP loses an election, because them do something wrong. But what Mark Golding and Bunting and them did to the PNP, led by Mark Golding, they have scarred the PNP so deep, okay, that there are people who, if this government stops performing, they would rather not vote than to vote for the PNP. I'm going to tell you about PNP people.
You are speaking about PNP supporters?
Yes, they would rather sit it out than to vote because of the legacy, okay, that they've left on the PNP. Like a person like PJ Patterson, for example. PJ Patterson is known as somebody who is pro-Pan-Africanist, okay? And a man like PJ Patterson to have allowed a Mark Golding to do these unconventional things, like holding up the shackle over the black man's head and, using language about our ancestors, telling the Jamaican people that our ancestors fought and bled and died together. And that is a total distortion. And this is why I've lost respect for the mainstream media in Jamaica. Because you cannot have people coming trying to distort history in that way. And you do not check them. Because we have kids listening, we have teenagers listening. You cannot distort history.
Yes.
Nobody called him out on it. But to have him represent the opposition, PNP was one of the most popular political organizations.
Oh, yes.
And to see the PNP come down to this, I mean, it's very sad. It's disappointing, to say the least. And like I said, in my opinion, neighbor, I think the legacy of a Mark Golding, it scars the PNP so deep that I don't know if they can recover from it. But we'll see. Time will tell.
Okay. So the philosophical, ideological underpinnings of the People's National Party, and those persons who study politics in Jamaica will know that the PNP did have strong identity with the Jamaican people. There was a time in Jamaica when you never thought the PNP could lose an election. It was almost PNP country. Whether that was true or not, they had a very strong grip on many institutions, but Jamaican people naturally flowed to them. And you are saying that now is no more, and the PNP is a shadow of itself, and you are placing that at the feet of the current leader, Mark Golding.
Yes, neighbor, over time, the PNP was very good at using language that gave the Jamaican people a sense that they were for the most poor, the most disenfranchised, the most, outcasted people in the society. When you look at the PNP during that time, yes, it's true. The people who you call ghetto people and, people who just want a break in life, they would gravitate to the PNP.
Yes.
Right? But things and times change. The PNP, they don't have a message anymore. They don't have a message. They don't have a message at all. They don't have a message for the time that we're living in. They don't motivate. I mean, when you look at some of the people who left the PNP, it's for those reasons. There's no message.
Listen to this for me, Natalie, please.
Senator Fitzgerald says the opposition believes that the fact it has 28 members in the House of Representatives means it and not the House Speaker is in charge of the proceedings in Parliament.
I have been observing parliamentary proceedings in Jamaica for over 2 decades now, and the level of lack of discipline and disregard for the guidelines of the parliament that is being displayed by this current Mark Golding-led opposition PNP is the most severe I've seen it for a long time. The opposition has sought to turn the most honorable Juliet Horner, Speaker of the House, into a scapegoat because they cannot get away unfettered with this level of heightened lack of discipline, which they insist on imposing on the parliamentary proceedings.
Senator Fitzgerald says the House Speaker is the victim of a deliberate campaign of disrespect and denigration by opposition MPs. He says opposition MPs are taking their cue from their leader, Mark Golding.
what is most disappointing is that the opposition leader has led the way in the display of lack of discipline. Last week, he was first on his feet when the marshal was directed to do his duties, which he has the authority to under the standing orders of the parliament. And this week, he insisted on raising a point of order, accusing a minister of misleading the parliament. When those of us who are in the parliament and observe parliament know that is not provided for in the standing orders which govern the operations of the parliament.
Senator Fitzhenry says the defense by the PNP of the Mace shenanigans of Southwest St. Andrew MP Dr. Angela Brown-Burke is additional evidence that the opposition...
Leave it there. So Natalie, Fitzhenry is saying that the disruption and disrespect in the parliament is being led by Mark Bolin.
Well, that's the tone, that's the general tone. And the thing is, and I say this to people so that people will reflect and understand where this behavior and this attitude of disrespect and disregard comes from. The thing about it, neighbor, where Angela Brown-Burke and that whole thing took place, if you go back and look, I don't know how much you are aware of during that time. The PNP, the ones they may see in a parliament now, they basically overthrew their leader. Okay?
Which leader is that?
Dr. Phillips, when he was the leader of the opposition.
Was overthrown? Overthrown?
Yes, I saw the leak where they were plotting on them things there, leak out on social media and stuff like that. But you see, if the PNP had enforced discipline and rules
within their ranks,
yes, that would not have happened. So they have gotten so used to functioning that way, where they overthrow people, set up people to disrespect people and that kind of thing. And it's the same attitude that they bring into the parliament. So the rules in the parliament does not mean anything to them. They want to overthrow the speaker. They want to overthrow the government. And that's their behavior from within the PNP spilling over in our parliament.
My God.
So that is it. They said that they want an independent speaker. That means the government, as it normally has been over time, the government appoints a speaker with a PNP or JLP. So when them say no, they want independent speaker, what they must say, the government shouldn't appoint a speaker of the house?
We must get somebody from outside.
And then the rules now, where the rules are concerned, when the thing happened in the parliament last week, Tuesday, or week before last Tuesday, on Wednesday, Angela Brown-Burke told the Gleaner that the speaker acted in accordance with the rules. Those were her words. So how do you come back to the parliament and vilify the speaker again? When the speaker was lenient with you, because if I were the speaker, Angela Brown-Burke, I personally would have asked for her to sit out maybe a month or 6 months, I don't know, until you learn how to behave like an adult. Okay? So for the speaker to be lenient on her, just kicking her out of one session, and she come back now, change her mouth, saying, okay, you acted within and in accordance with the rules, but me have to come back and vilify you and tell the people them say, yeah, disrespect me in here.
Yes.
Talking to me. It's not that the speaker is disrespecting them. They don't understand that Juliet Oles does not govern the parliament. The rules govern the parliament.
Yes.
But if they disagree with anything that she does, what they need to do is come to parliament with their standing order. It's a blue book, I think.
Right.
Maybe one of your people can tell me in the chat, I want blue book. They can walk within them pocket and say, listen, what you just said is against what's in here. They don't do that. They're only attacking the woman. That does not make any sense.
They're disrupting.
So it's a behavioral thing where they were able to get away with people not enforcing rules, and they were able to overthrow their leader and mash up their party and all the wickedness them. So that they wanted them doing at the parliament, and it cannot work. Whether Juliet is there or not, there is a book of rules that the speaker and parliament must be guided by. It's always been that way. Okay?
Absolutely.
So that's it.
Absolutely. Now let's move on to the Cuban doctor's Natalie, I'm stretching you. No stretch, but I'm pushing you a little to on the politics. Too much. It's so interesting talking to you. Now, in March 2026, the long-standing medical cooperation agreement between Jamaica and Cuba was brought to an end, and under that agreement, hundreds of Cuban doctors worked in Jamaica's public health system for decades. About 278 Cubans doctors were affected. But more than 40 doctors, as a matter of fact, 42 confirmed, chose to remain in Jamaica. These doctors are now being offered direct individual contracts instead of working through the Cuban government system. Natalie, how do you think this is playing right now in the health sector?
Well, first of all, to have 40 doctors remain is a good thing, because when you had 200 and odd, between doctors, nurses, specialists, technicians, it's going to leave a void that you must fill. So to have 40 doctors basically break ranks with their country in Cuba and decided to stay in Jamaica with a new contract, with the option of residency and with direct payment of their salary.
Yes.
To me, that is a very profound move on the part of the Cuban healthcare workers, because just a few weeks ago when we were debating and discussing this, there were some who were saying, the government was being ungrateful, and they used all kind of adjectives to describe the government's response to the contract that needed to be renewed. Now, neighbor, you know that we're living in a time now where human rights, workers' rights, and all the rights, labor rights, no pun intended, we live in a world where it is so transparent that nobody don't want to violate those rights of people.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have a contract a decade-old contract, where the world was kind of a different place. And in this time, when you have a government, I say this to Jamaicans, could your Jamaican government send you to go work in another country and a hold on part of your salary and them something there, and you know about it?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do it for Jamaica, and I wouldn't do it for America. Both countries I'm a citizen of. Okay? So this idea that the government was doing something wrong or the government was being ungrateful, it is not true. Because look what the Cubans then turn around and do now. They did the very thing that the Jamaican government asked Cuba to do. But the Cuban government, but they didn't want to do it because they were benefiting financially, hugely, of these workers. So they didn't want to do it.
Yeah.
So now, with the 40 workers, and based on some information I got, I heard that more Cuban workers are expected to join their friends and stay back in Jamaica and get their direct salary.
Okay. There is a concern, Natalie, that based on the system of government operating in Cuba, that these doctors may be, are they able to go back to Cuba without any repercussion if they decide to do so?
Well, that is a good question, but let me just say this. The ambassador of Cuba in Jamaica, she spoke to a mainstream media house this evening.
Yes.
And she said that the Cuban workers are free to do what they want.
Yes.
So I guess we have to take her at her word. Whether they believe that is a different thing, because they're the Cubans and they know their government and their regime and their system over there. But according to this ambassador, she said they're free to do it.
Absolutely. Let's play that. Let's play that.
Cuba has been experiencing months of deteriorating conditions due to a collapsing electricity grid. It has led to a humanitarian situation compounded by a total U.S. energy blockade on the Spanish-speaking Caribbean island. This has prevented critical oil from getting to Cuba, with the country receiving only one shipment since January. The most recent economic sanctions by the US were imposed on May 1. They target the energy, defense, and financial sectors to stifle the Cuban military-run economy. The US government has imposed sanctions against GESA, the Cuban military conglomerate that controls an estimated 40% of the country's economy. Other sanctions against a state-owned nickel operation are set to undercut key foreign exchange. During a conversation with journalists at the Cuban embassy in New Kingston, Ambassador Tania Lopez LaRocque expressed deep concern.
This act is an act of economic aggression that amplifies the extraterritorial effects of the blockade and further hinder the functioning of our national economy, which has already been facing devastating effects of the oil blockade imposed on January 29. This is a new blatant violation of the international law and the fundamental principles of free trade and goods and services.
According to Lopez LaRocque, there has been no progress in the ongoing talks between Cuba and the US.
No recent updates. We have the information.
I don't think that's the right take, but nonetheless, she did say that the Cuban doctors are free to make decisions on their own. It's a positive development in the ongoing relationship between Cuba and Jamaica, though, Natalie. This is a positive development.
Yes, it is a positive development, and it also means that the relationship that Jamaica had with Cuba over is about Jamaica. The narrative before these doctors made their decision, the narrative was that Jamaica was doing something wrong, or Jamaica was being pressured by the United States, right? Remember, Jamaica is not the only country who looked over the agreement or arrangement that they previously had, right? I mean, I don't know of any other country in the world that has a medical workforce that they would send to other countries and the government is collecting part of their salary. If you know another country, tell me, but I don't know any other country that, operates like that. So basically, neighbor, the Cuban workers, they want their sovereignty. They want their freedom. And that it come down to.
Yes. Yeah.
I am for it. I think it's a good thing. I think Jamaica is a good place, okay? I mean, they had the option to go back, and they decided to stay. They decided to stay, continue serving Jamaica, the people of Jamaica, and I think it's a beautiful thing.
Fantastic. Natalie, the government appears to be moving from state to state labor arrangement to what is more accepted, that is a globally recruited healthcare worker, direct employment contracts. If the government manages this well, it is going to strengthen Jamaica's medical system long term and also improve Jamaica's foreign relations with the United States. The PNP, though, Natalie, gave Jamaica an impression that somehow the government was acting in a wrong way. That was misleading.
It was misleading, but you see, when I tell you, neighbor, that the PNP has not evolved, this is the result, okay? Because if the PNP was not still thinking and operating on a foreign policy of decades ago, the 1970s, and the Prime Minister said this too, and it's so clear that we can all see that they don't understand that the world has evolved, the Cuban people and them need to evolve, all the things that are going on. You understand? You have to look at it a little different than the 1970s. So when the PNP come out and said that, they didn't consult with these doctors and nurses and healthcare workers. They didn't ask them, what do you guys think or what do you want to do? Well, since nobody asked them, 40 of them were brave enough to come out and say, They want citizenship in a Jamaica, a residency. They want to work in a Jamaica, and they want to get them direct salary. That's what they want.
Yeah.
So we can sit down here, whether we're on one side or the other, and speculate about what we think. But what's most important is what those healthcare workers think.
Yeah.
And they have proven the PNP wrong. That's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Don't you think that this arrangement with the government probably was already part of the government's strategy when they ended that previous contract?
I don't know. I can't say for sure, but I know that I don't think they ended the contract. I think the contract was expiring.
Well, that's a better way to put it.
Yes. And with that, with the human rights people them come down on the contract, all these countries who had the contract with Cuba, they had to make a decision. And Cuba had to make a decision. Is it okay for these people to stay and get them salary and stuff like that? The Cuban government said no. One country, I think it was St. Vincent, or one of those Caribbean islands, who said to the Cuban government that they wanted to pay the people directly. You know what? Their response was to pull out the healthcare workers.
Yes.
That means that they don't want them to get the pay directly. And that's what it's about. Follow the money. You understand?
Yes. So it is better, Natalie, for the government to hire doctors directly. It doesn't matter which country they are from once they are competent. Give them personal contracts and allow long-term residency opportunities. That's a better policy than the one that previously existed and one that the PNP was trying to support.
That's what everybody else in the world does. I mean, here in America, I can tell you about America.
Yes.
Right? Because I am in the healthcare field as well. We have a big population, have always had a big population of, nurses from the Philippines, nurses from India. And when they come, the arrangement is not with no government. The arrangement is with these individuals. You may have agencies that help them to go through the whole immigration process. But when they come, they're guaranteed residency for them and their families, which means if they have a wife or a husband and children, they can all come over, okay, and they get their salary. They may be paid a little different than, those who have been in the system for a long time. But that's the arrangement. You come with your family, you get your residency, and you come and you work, and that's it. There's no, I'll pay your government and your government pay you, or you only get temporary stay. Anybody who come here, they might get one period of time to get themselves permanent residency, right? But it's never a thing where you're just hanging by a thread. Like, that don't really make no sense to me.
Okay. Is there anything you want to add to that, this arrangement, Natalie, that I haven't raised with you?
Well, this is an opportunity for Jamaicans to look again at the foreign policy of the government versus that of the opposition. The government was right. Why I say the government was right is that what these healthcare workers in Cuba really wanted was to have their sovereignty. They want to have their freedom. They want to be able to work a normal job like normal people and get their salary directly. That's all they wanted, right? Some may not have the courage to do what the 42 of them did so far. Whatever, it doesn't matter. But what those guys did pretty much tells us that what the government was offering is what these folks wanted.
Fantastic. Natalie, it's 25 minutes to 9 o'clock. I'm going to open the lines to my callers, to my listeners, if they want to talk with you. Listeners, Natalie is going to be staying a little bit longer with us. You want to talk with her? Please. Let's hear from you. Do you have a question for Natalie? Do you want to raise something with her? She'll be willing to talk to you on this or any other matter you wanna talk to her about. JPU is here. Natalie is here. No, I can't take any calls online, guys. You have to WhatsApp me on the line that I've given you out. That line is not connected to on air. Okay, so I can't take that. Who is first up? You want to talk with Natalie? There are so many people in the chat. Who is moderating? I'm not so sure. My God, this person just keeps. Hello? Hello, sir.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening to you, sir.
Yes, evening, Max. Boy, I really like this combination, you know?
You like the what?
I like the combination of both of you. You and JPU, you know?
Okay, sir.
The information and the content that you have, I think it's quite timely and it's relevant. And the more people can get this sort of information, it augurs well for the country in general, because unlike other platforms, you really hardly get this type of in-depth analysis of the politics, you know. And I spent the entire night listening to you last night, Neighbour, in terms of just your assessment of the PNP's reaction to the NaRRA bill, and it really was spot on. And coming out of what I've observed since last election, right? It is mind-boggling that PNP and their supporters are having a very hard time still accepting their defeat. It's something that I feel going forward, we must have mandatory, psychological counseling for the defeated political party coming out of any election, because for them to not be accepting of the result after so many months, it's really, really mind-boggling. And adults.
Hold on there, sir. You know that Hillary Clinton said that she had to get up and go on morning walks a couple months into her loss to Donald Trump. You should talk to Kamala Harris. They go through pain, sir. An election loss is not an easy thing, It's like when your wife divorce you. It can take you months to recover. Can you imagine spending millions of dollars trying to win something, sir, and lose it?
It's not only the spending of the money, it's also what Natalie alluded to. It is the level of dishonesty that they employed in their campaign strategy.
Yes.
The character assassination, the misinformation, with all that they did, they still came up short. And again, what is sort of surprising to me as well is that they're bragging about doubling their seat count in the parliament. And you said it the other day quite well. 2020 was an anomaly. It was not the norm. Something happened that caused the GLP to have the majority that they did and the PNP to have the minority that they did. What was that event? And it's as if nobody wants to deal with it. It was the sabotage of the risers in the PNP. Natalie talks about this quite a lot. That caused them to have that minority. So if you compare 2016, where the JLP only won by one seat, the JLP has done extremely well since then, because they have increased their seat count between 35 to 28 seats. So the JLP has done extremely well. The PNP has not done well, because their deficit has widened since 2016. And we know what happened in 2020. So I don't know, Jamaican people, the voters, I think they have matured in terms of how they approach the politics now. The ship, I believe, has sailed. The PNP are performing or behaving like they're in the 90s or a bygone era. And they are appealing to that mindset. You know? So that's my contribution, and I really just want to say keep up the good work. Both of you. I really wasn't expecting this combination, but it's really a nice combination.
Well, sir, I like her. I like her a lot. I wish she would come here more often.
Well, thank you for the invitation. I just want to say something. Thank you, caller, for your contribution. But you see, when we talked earlier, neighbor, about the winning streak that the PNP had for so long, you see that winning streak? The PNP believed that they were so sure that the Jamaican people would have chosen them in 2025 that they still cannot and have not accepted it. The whole deception of sabotaging their own party and saying, let Andrew Holness have another term. We will sabotage, make Peter Phillips go on, and then they will come back in 5 years. They were sure that in 5 years, the Jamaican people would accept them with open arms, and it did not happen. You understand? So the level of confidence that they had, because the PNP had such a long winning streak, it was off the charts. They were 100% sure that the Jamaican people were going to come out 2025 and say, yes, the PNP that won the most election, the PNP country, we're going to bring them back. But the people did not. And that's just the truth. Now, why the people didn't bring them back 2025? It's very simple. They were divided and fractured. People were leaving the party. I mean, up to the 11th hour, you had people coming out on the public platform, on the GLP platform, who say they must switch party, they must switch sides. You can't have them something that happen as they are going to an election. That don't look good. So between that, they had no policy. Not one. I mean, if somebody can name me one good policy that the PNP proposed, I would be open to listen, but I was paying full attention and I cannot remember one good policy that made sense. You heard about the food import tax by Dayton Campbell, trying to appeal to the farmers of the country, and everybody was like, what? Food import tax? Then Damian Crawford came with the education was about taxation. And people just were saying to themselves, the PNP don't have nothing. Them come with the whole rent to own business, and people didn't believe in that either. So that versus a government campaigning on achievements, crime going down, no new taxes for 9 years. I mean, the government had more than enough to campaign on, and they had a manifesto as well. So this PNP, they were not ready, they were not viable, and that's what it comes down to. So it will be a different kind of thing going into the next election, because this government, they can't perform the way that they did last time. They have to perform different. They have to perform better, right? And also, we had 39% voter turnout last time. So
Yes.
we need to get people participating again.
Yes.
You know, Natalie, you put the nail right on the head again, because, I'm looking at Peter punching over the past few sessions whenever you see him. And to me, it seems as if reality is finally setting in for him, that what he did and what his anticipations were of getting into power is slowly slipping away from him, and we're not happy of him becoming Prime Minister of the country, because that's what he wanted. And for me, that's one of the reasons why they have not yet accepted the defeat of last election. Knowing quite likely that they will election if this government continues to perform and improve on their performance going forward. It seems to me like the reality is setting in for him that he will not be Prime Minister of Jamaica, which I think is what he most wanted. You know? On the point that you made about the low voter turnout, was a big issue by many commentators. I heard Dion Jackson speaking about it. For me, the turnout is the turnout. You cannot mandate or force people to come out and vote. Whoever comes out to vote, that is who comes out to vote. And our system of a simple majority and first over the line is enough to take government. I heard one of the PNP senators saying today that the JP only received 19% of the vote, and that alone is not a mandate. So you see that the mindset that they have not accepted that they are not the government and the JP was voted in. Because for her to say that, it's like there's a loophole. And
I agree with you.
Our Westminster system works. It's simple majority, church to over the line, forms the entire government. We do not have a coalition government. We are a two-party system in the main. You know, so for those who say that the voter turnout was low, I don't think that's a misnomer. Because it is what whoever comes out to vote is who wanted to vote. And who didn't come out, either they were happy or discontented. You can't really factor them, right, and speak about them. Because unless you're going to mandate or do something to have 100% turnout, then we have to just accept what the turnout is, right?
I was saying that those Jamaica people, they don't vote in government, they vote out government. So when I was looking at the trend of voter turnout, the voter turnout was up to 60%. I looked at between 2002 to the election of 2016, I think. And the voter turnout was between 50% to 60%. So we had a good bit of enthusiasm in our politics at that time. Where we saw a major drop in the voter turnout was during COVID. I think COVID had a lot to do with it. And also the PNP was divided, and you cannot bring a divided party to an electorate. Nobody's going to put a divided party in government. That will never, ever happen. So between the COVID-19 and the situation that the PNP was in, I think that is why you saw such low turnout at 37%. Now, we are 39% in 2025. Why did we have 39% and not more? I think the Jamaican people were not willing to come out and vote out the Jamaica Labour Party. I think the people in... I'm sorry?
I agree with that sentiment.
Yeah, Jamaican people, they saw that the PNP was not viable and the JLP would have their base excited and coming out. So, you know, when Jamaican people want to vote out a government, they will come out and vote you out. Okay? But they had no reason to vote out the JLP. PNP was no more viable than they are today. So it just is that.
My take is this, especially as it relates to the current Prime Minister Andrew Bonus. Only JLP can vote him out. As long as he continues to perform and do, he will achieve, and the party will remain in power for the foreseeable future. Until they mess around like what Bruce did. Because as we vote out Bruce, as we vote him in, and because of that whole Dulles incident, we voted him out. Because he messed up. Right? We will do the same thing with whomever is Prime Minister or leader of the JLP government. And as it stands now, because there perhaps will come a time when there will be a need for a change from this government. That time is definitely not now. And if they continue to perform and build up the country, the PNP
What would determine that time though, sir? You said that there will come a time when there will be a need to change, but what determines that need to change?
For instance, the incumbents, them start slack up, corruption is rife, things are getting out of hand, where the people, especially those who kept them in or voted them in, and they start having a certain apathy towards them, then they will not come out to vote. Because keeping away your vote is like obviously voting for the other side.
Yeah.
That is where a need will come in. If the present incumbent starts to slack off and stop performing, or something, a major crisis arises of corruption or something else, then those who their supporters will just not. Because for me, there's a fundamental difference between the supporters of the PNP and the JP, especially those who are, not have a diehard element. The JP supporters will not, to a degree, support slaps, whereas you might find the PNP, they are more likely and willing to accept, certain levels of corruption, certain levels of criminality, and so that's what I mean when I say there may perhaps come a time, but again, I'm going to preface it with this: if the government continues to focus on building out the country, continue to, reduce the crime element, which is for me the most important element in any society, peace and safety, because that is how everything is going to flourish. Because you will know that when there's no peace, it takes away so much from productivity, from investor confidence, from just everything else. What's the sense if you have money in your pocket, you have an education, and you're not feeling a sense of peace and security? You don't want to go somewhere else and live that can provide you that. And what the Prime Minister is doing, I think, is very critical with his expenditure and, the police commissioners, the efforts in first of all, cutting that hardcore criminal element, right? And then, the softer approach to community policing and all those other engagement with the citizenry. I think it's commendable and it is the most important, right? Because many people don't understand that the criminality, the high crime insecurity in the country is, for me, the main contributor to our lack of growth, economic growth. So once we start to get that right, people start investing more locally and internationally. When the build out will be more seamless, more effortless, and that's what we want, that's what I hope the Prime Minister and the DOP will focus on. And if it is that somewhere down in the distant future, the PNP should form government, one would hope that they would continue on that same trend and not because of political party tribalism, remove some of what has been happening in the country.
Well, I have to thank you, sir. I have to run.
All right, take care. Thanks for listening.
Take care. Natalie, she has another 5 minutes with us. Honeybee, you want to talk to Natalie?
Hello, good night, Nats. Good night, neighbor.
Good night.
For me, I've been listening to Natalie for a long time.
What are you saying? But Natalie said she just been here for 2 years. It's a long time.
No, from she started. She knew I'd come on her show. I talked to her quite a few times while she was on TikTok. The situation is with Jamaicans, as I said, education for me is always the key when it comes to people not being intelligent enough and understand what is necessary to push the country forward. And as I said, I have relatives that live overseas that still have their home here. And especially for my sister that lives in Florida, she said she will be coming back as long as the country continue the way it's going, because she said one of the most profound statements for her from the Prime Minister is when he said, "Meet the judge or your maker, you choose." She said that was good enough for her, because she see that crime is trending down, and that is important for her as a return resident to when the crime is getting under control. So for me, the people, we have a situation where people are uneducated, and I think in some case that's deliberate. And I'll tell you why. Right now, it is easy for you to, if you have never finished high school, it's easy for you to go back and get your high school education. Some people are not interested to do that. So, as I always said, it's not an excuse. Ignorance is not an excuse for you to continue to vote for someone that is not viable. And I agree with Natalie. I think the leader of the opposition is one of the most disrespectful person I've ever seen. I think he's a lie, and he's what my grandmother would call dry eye liar. He's looking at you, and he's looking at the Jamaican people, and he's speaking directly, and he's lying, and he will tell the lie as if it's the truth and God-given truth. And that's disturbing for me. And I think for me, he has no respect for his opponent, which is the Prime Minister. And I don't care who you are. Respect is something that I think is very important. And that's where, for me, is a turn-off where the leader of the opposition is concerned. And because I've seen the Prime Minister went up against Portia Simpson Miller, and they have been respectful to each other. Mm-hmm. He went up against Peter Phillips, and they have respect for each other. So why it has to be this type of animosity when it comes to him and the Prime Minister? Is because he believes that the Prime Minister is beneath him. That's my opinion, why he behaves that way. And that's my few words, giving other someone else a chance.
All right, Honeybee, thank you so much. Okay,
thank you.
All right, so Natalie, it's been nice hanging out with you on this glorious Friday. Trust that your weekend will be fantastic. Are you on tonight on YouTube?
I'm on right now. I'm going to talk to my people for a little while longer, and I thank you for having me, and thank your audience here for tolerating me.
No, man, you are to combat Natalie. I think I think you can talk to us anytime. Okay, anytime.
Yeah, man, I come off a little strong, but it's always from a place of just honesty.
You don't come off a little strong at all.
All right, well, that's good. That's good. All right, well, thank you, and have a good night, neighbor.
Yeah, man, take care of yourself. Bye-bye.
We'll catch up.
Great. That was
good night,
that was the great Natalie from the Jamaica Politics Network. Is that what it is?
Jamaica Politics Uncovered.
Jamaica Politics Uncovered. Now, we have breaking news coming out of the Senate. Member Harry is going to be joining us from our YouTube link. Let me go down to the Senate, and then I'm going to throw over to Member Harry. Hold on, Member Harry. Stay tuned.
Deal with the day of dissolution. Chair 29.1 would read, the minister may,
Mr. President,
appoint a day.
I'm coming to you, Member Harry.
Of dissolution of the authority. 2 would read, subject to subsection 3, the day appointed under subsection 1 shall be no later than 5 days after the date of commencement of this act. 3 reads.
All right. Member Harry?
The minister shall not make an order.
Sorry, let's jump over to member. I'm not getting that. Hello, sir.
Mr. President.
How are you doing? How is the Senate today?
Well, it was for the Jamaican people. It was rather productive. You know, the bill has been approved by the Senate at 8:13 p.m. So it was a little bit less than an hour ago. It was like a 10-hour session in the Senate today, which is not much different from, you know, the almost 12-hour session we saw in Parliament. So it shows that it was a productive time frame.
Yes. Now, what happens from here now, Member Harry?
Well, with it, neighbor, I know they'll have another sitting going forward, but I think because it has passed the lower house and now has passed the upper house, it is one that sends a signal for Jamaica that regardless as to what the opposition has put forward, in which, neighbor, I might say there has been several clauses, as they refer to them in the Senate, that was put forward as well to finalize everything. So apart from the 20 amendments made in the lower house, which is Parliament itself, there has been further clause amendments here for the bill. So we want to stay tuned to see the official posting of the bill. I'll try to see if I can get a copy of the final piece coming from the Senate, and then we can maybe present it to our neighbor rights.
All right. Now, were there any highlights coming out of the Senate today that you probably want to share with us?
Well, neighbor, I I learned something very important, you know. the praise of epoch, right? That the People's National Party so have on a high pedestal. And of course, NaRRA has an entity to it, which is Jamrock, so it functions similar to epoch. I really never knew until today, neighbor, that epoch was never put forward or conceptualized by the People's National Party.
Duncan revealed that today.
He revealed it, and he was one of the two chief architect of that epoch, right? And it's funny to see that somebody like a Lambert Brown, you know, was stuck in his shell when it was revealed. And it was a teaching moment for Ramon as well, because, you know, I said I always have an eye. He's a youthful, he's a young man, and he has great ideas, regardless as to where he sits in the Senate. And he got a teaching lesson from the veteran in the sector, which is good to see, because regardless as to what happened in the Senate, they both work closely together. Of course, we know where they sit when it comes down to the financial institutions. But I think that is going to be something in which it won't be a talking point, because we know how the mainstream media is. But I think it's something we have to let the public know, because the People's National Party pride themselves on creating this epoch when that was never the case. So again, they were caught in a blatant lie.
Let us hear a little bit from Duncan, Harry. Hold on.
Conceptualized by the PNP, the financial sector came to the table. You repeating that story with a US $12.2 billion.
All right. Here is it.
Large reconstruction efforts require coordination, decentralized structures, and that large reconstruction efforts require coordination that decentralized structures are institutionally incapable of providing. And let me talk about Jamrock now. The accountability architecture. Mr. President, I want to talk about Jamrock, Jamaica Reconstruction and Resilience Oversight Committee, which the Prime Minister has announced and will provide independent oversight of NaRRA's work. But I want to confess I'm in a position of somewhat of conflict of interest in this discussion because Jamrock is model on EPOC, the Economic Program Oversight Committee. EPOC was a social consensus body that I advocated for and worked closely with Dr. Peter Phillips, and I will tell you how this happened, Ramon, because you need to know the facts, my virgin. Okay? We and Ramon and Senator Ferguson, Small Ferguson and I, Senator Small Ferguson and I work very closely together. Right now. But he was around because he was around at the time. And I myself and another CEO of another financial sector company sat down with Dr. Peter Phillips, and I said to Dr. Phillips, we are not signing that debt exchange agreement unless we get an oversight body. That is how EPOC came about. Okay? And I worked closely with Dr. Peter Phillips. We agreed on who would sit on this, who would sit on this body. Dr. Peter Phillips, we agreed on the unions, we agreed on agriculture, we agreed on small business, we agreed on the financial sector, we agreed on that's agriculture and small business, the unions. We agreed that would be the representation on EPOC, Dr. Peter Phillips and I. I went to my office and I wrote the terms of reference with Mike Hilton and Mark Harrison, and EPOC was signed off the following morning. Okay, we're gonna get to it. Right? So EPOC was not conceptualized by the PNP. The financial sector came to the table. You did.
There you have it, Harry.
Yes, neighbor. So I'm happy of that admission, so that can put the story to bed, to not politicize EPOC, because it wasn't bred and conceptualized out of any political affairs. It was structured for the benefit of the Jamaican people and its economy. But of course, we see where the current opposition has staked the claim to it when that wasn't the case. And the truth about it, neighbor, is that EPOC was never really one that came because of IMF. Because if we went a little further, you'd have heard Mr. Duncan said EPOC would have been in Jamaica for that time with or without the IMF, right? So it wasn't something conceptualized because IMF came, and that is very key as to how the institutions of Jamaica came about. Not all of them bred out of IMF. So it shows that even with this whole idea of oversight being requested by the opposition, it showed that we were creating institutions to go forward as a nation before being called upon doing so. And one of the major things is that when you look at it in that way, you see that we can actually create institutions similar to NaRRA, right? Where we are creating to think forward, to ensure that we have necessary institutions in the event of or to take advantage of any situation to come in the future to move the country forward. So that in itself showed that we had the idea, and it wasn't an idea thing at all. But as we bring it back to the level of speed in which we need to, and in terms of speaking to speed, I was listening to also, I want to call it right, Senator Professor Floyd Morris, right? I don't want anybody to think I'm discriminating, but neighbor, I think he needs to stop this whole idea of saying he doesn't see something, because we know in terms of what the statement is. He was saying there's nothing in the bill. He doesn't see anything in the bill about the Melissa victims, and people need to understand that NaRRA isn't one in which is there to rescue Melissa victims firstly, right? It is to prepare the country in a way where we don't have Melissa-like victims again. So it's not something that is driven just to deal with what happened with the victims of Melissa, but the country overall. Because the truth about it is that if we're supposed to get another quote-unquote Melissa-like system, right? And it doesn't hit, let's say it doesn't hit the West. Let's say it hit the East. We're going to have a similar situation. And if you go ahead and table a bill for a natural disaster specific to Melissa, then you have to keep on amending this bill, well, a legislation, because it's going to be a legislation now. So you'll have to keep going back each time. And that's not something you want to see with your legislators, neighbor, because it would show that they are extremely limited in their conceptualization of the legislation that is needed for a country. And you can't keep on amend laws, neighbor. It really, it's not one of those things for this that you keep moving the goalpost every single time, because that in itself still bring back a level of reactionary rather than being proactive, which is the proactive is what the current administration is trying to achieve. There's this brought up about housing as well, in which a lie was also told. I don't think Senator Morris could have seen his lie, no pun intended in terms of the scene, but he said there's no houses, he hasn't seen any. But I like the fact that Mr. Abka Fitzfinlay actually came back and, you know, put that lie to bed. So it shows that the opposition, doesn't matter where they sit, neighbor, whether it's the lower house or upper house, they tend to want to sensationalize things, and wherever they can put lies in the midst, they put it, because there are a few hundred houses already in Jamaica, right? And anybody can go and check it. I think they should invite Senator Morris to actually say he can see these houses and so on to take account of it. But it just shows that they were always going to oppose it no matter what, regardless of the clauses they would have put in. And they just technically don't want to see Jamaica move forward as it ought to.
Yes.
When go ahead, neighbor.
Go ahead, man.
So when I look at the different contributions to it, neighbor, it's the delay process is also delaying deliverance for the people overall. I think it was Masiki. I don't think I get the name right. Opposition senator as well, who spoke regarding numbers, and I really thought she should have left the numbers to somebody else, because her numbers were not adding up at all. I know she mentioned something about she mentioned the CRIF and the catastrophe bond. Everybody knows, neighbor, we weren't getting the exact $24 billion and the payment for the exact amount quoted for the CRIF. There's always some level of transaction fees that you have to pay. And she tried to sensationalize that as well, to say the government has lied to its people. And these minute things is a turn off when you're listening to place like this, because you expect them to see the higher ground and understand, but not try to poke holes that common sense tell you that there will be transaction fees to move funds around. It is a global standard, right? And that for me is it's a really a major turn off, because if you don't have anything to say, you know, in Jamaica they say if you don't have nothing good to say, keep your mouth shut. Some of these things should really have been put in place, neighbor. But the overall take from it is that I'm happy a lot of things was cleared up so the public can understand. Of course, it's going to take some time again to also bring across a lot more information, because it's 10 hours long, to be honest. So there are some things we won't necessarily mention just yet as we go through. But I would say it's triumph. Firstly, for the 5 parishes that was devastated. I'll say it's also a victory for the Jamaican people, right? And I want to also put in a part where they were questioning the whole thing as to why the diaspora has not invested in Jamaica before. And I think we have covered for several months now, neighbor, as to the confidence as to why that was so. And to hear that being brought up in the Senate, when we all know the answer, crime was high. There was no control of it. And these things were brought up by the opposition, which is shocking to me, because you know that your party failed the country, but to try and, you know, get political points and so on, which the Senate shouldn't need to be trying to score political points. Because at that level, while there's politics involved, you don't want it to seem as if it's just politics. And a lot of that was put out. And it shows where the lines will always be drawn. It's almost like a battlefield. Nobody will cross this line, despite knowing that something like a NaRRA will help its very own people. And when you see something like that, a stance in both houses, it lets you wonder why people would have put the opposition or why people voted for the opposition, since the opposition is voting against them. So is you employing somebody neighbor to do your work, and they're the one there when them sell the goods out of the shop, them take the money and send it. So you're always at a loss. So you go in the deficit at all times. So it didn't spell well, but I think it's victory for Jamaica, locally and overseas. And we can just look forward now that the fight is still there, no matter what, because we know the type of opposition that is in our parliament. In the words of Angela Brown Burke, she's never a submissive woman, so we don't expect the People's National Party to be submissive, even when that is the right order for its very own people and for Jamaica to move forward.
Okay, what did you learn today listening to the opposition senators? Did they make the debate any richer? Did they make sense? Is it something that is worth their points were worth looking at?
I think the major one that I looked at, and it was also addressed. It was conceded, but it's something that can always be amended. The sunset time, as Ramon referred to it as, of NaRRA, I think it was a given, because in when the Prime Minister presented the NaRRA bill.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
When the Prime Minister presented the NaRRA bill, we knew that it was renewable every 5 years. And if something is renewable every 5 years, neighbor, it is also given that it has to end before the 5 years or on the 5 year period. So automatically there was a sunset date of it, right? But that was something that was conceded to say, yes, it will be put in, but also understand that you can't put a sunset date in the conceptualization phase of the bill, because we've never had an NaRRA. We've never had something like this. And as such, you have to table it and tinker it a little as you go forward, because a lot of projects will be having a different start time. So for example, we have up to 3 years to take this money in different tranches or different stages, but we can't guarantee each and every project, to be finished. So for example, let's say we have the corridor being built, right? Renovated and built between Hanover to Montego Bay. And let's say that goes through, or that's a phase that starts 2 years from now, right? But it takes a time frame of approximately 1.5 years, and then we have a major disaster or something that slows down the actual brick and mortar process. Then we can't tell you to say, hey, NaRRA should have ended this way. Or let's say at the 3rd year of approving and starting all of these projects, some may take 2 years or a little bit longer, and then something happened. So you have to be able to give yourself some what I call wiggle room, whether you can extend the NaRRA a little bit for emergency circumstances, such as if another disaster delays the work, which is only common sense to me. I don't know if anybody else would think that is so, but you have to be flexible in this way, because we've never had NaRRA, just like how we've never had Melissa. And as such, we're in a reactive state, putting something to be proactive and to also be resilient. It's something you're juggling different things with. And as such, there's always somewhat of a flexibility required, and you can't be too rigid. That was one of the major points coming out. But the rest were like semantics, to be honest.
Well, let's hear from Joshua. Good evening, Joshua.
Greetings or good night to you, to the beautiful moderators, Natsu left, and the rest of the panelists, as well as your listeners.
Yeah, Joshua, the NaRRA debate occupied the lower house way until 1 o'clock. The Senate today, a marathon session. The bill eventually passed. How do you feel about this now? What are we to make from this moment, Joshua? The opposition continues to vote against the bill, but the bill has triumphed. How do we proceed from here now?
Well, it is no surprise. The opposition is not a party that knows how to be civil. I made a little notation here, which simply says that the opposition will always politicize everything because they don't understand truth, civility, and they don't understand truth and civility. And what do I mean by that? The opposition don't contend with on the basis of merit. They contend on the basis of lies and with a view just to gain power at all costs. And so nothing else matters to them. I was reading just this evening again, Paul Joseph Goebel, 9 Principles of Propaganda, and I was reading Active Measure also. And I was trying not to find, listen to what I'm saying, I was trying not to find the application of the PNP strategy in it. But every line I read, I saw the PNP strategy being totally embedded in these 2 principles. So it's Paul Joseph Goebel of Germany, and also Active Measure, which is the communist strategies of disinformation. And if you read it carefully, you will see the PNP strategy at play. Now, having passed the NaRRA bill, I believe that we should rejoice but not be carried away. I believe that we should rejoice because we are one step closer. But in as much as we are one step closer, we should also understand that we have entered into a new phase of the battle. And I know that it may seem funny to say that. This is a triumph by the government today. Indeed, and we can't deny it. But it's just another phase of the battle. I can predict tonight that the PNP's next move from here, one is to go out and propagandize this, listen to their bloggers tomorrow and going forward within the next week coming. And then shortly after that, you're going to hear something from either private sector people or some unions or private interests. And then the next step is that they're going to have a court case. All of this is part of their strategy. Just mark what I say on the 8th of May. So when it comes forward, you'll understand that what I'm saying is true. This is their playbook.
That you suspect that this matter now goes to the courts?
The PNP, that is their strategy. It's to hold up NaRRA for as long as they can, either to get it thrown out, even though they say they support it. The intent is to either have the court throw it out, or that the government gets so frustrated that they scrap NaRRA and look for another vehicle, right? That is going to be much slower than NaRRA, or to take it to the court, which is going to hold it up until another 3-4 years, so that it becomes ineffective. Right? So the purpose of NaRRA being created would have been nullified through a court battle. That is what the PNP is planning to do. I didn't hear from anybody, but I know the PNP that well.
That would be quite disappointing, Harry.
It would, neighbor. But the good thing is that, the bill was read 3 times today. And regardless as to the opposition who didn't think that transparency and accountability was placed highest on the ladder for the current administration, it read 3 times, neighbor, and it's going to go to the GG next, which is the Governor General. I'm looking for ISAT to put himself up, to carry out his threat, because it was a threat against the people to say you want to take this to the courts. But I think they've lost enough over the last 2 to 3 weeks, neighbor. I think they will be conceding somewhat, but they're not going to go down without a specific fight. But I don't see them coming out on top at all. And I think the people of Jamaica should ensure they push back against the People's National Party should they take these type of actions against such a consequential bill.
Yeah.
So member Harry and neighbor, let me say something to you. I would be pleasantly surprised if they change course, but I don't have that kind of hope. Right? I know the PNP too well. Right? One of the things that the PNP, if you listen carefully, everyone, when Raman, the young man that had to be reprimanded, had to be asked to retract his statement by Mrs. Golding or Miss Golding, the when you listen to him, he started his presentation by saying why we will not support NaRRA. That's how he started his presentation, you know. And after he was finished, and Cavan Gale, who's a trade unionist, pointed out that there were safeguards and rebutted his argument when Bernard was going to start his presentation. After the first line, he said, why we will not support NaRRA. This is how they preface, you know, both of them, you know. So it is clear that there is no intention. They didn't begin their presentation by saying, we appreciate the bill. We think it's a good bill. However, we have some concerns and hope that we can come to a consensus today or along the journey. Nothing of that sort was mentioned. There was nothing mentioned about consensus, meeting of the minds. They both came out why we will not support it. The PNP, it doesn't matter if you bend backwards.
Sorry, yes.
They see the potential. Yeah. Right. They see the potential of NaRRA, and in addition to that, one other thing you have to realize is that a win for NaRRA is a loss for the PNP. Because what it means is that the pork barrel thing that they intend to get out. If you listen to the young man again, is that Ramon Harry?
Roman Ferguson.
The one that presented
Ferguson.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Is it Ferguson or Tomlinson?
Ferguson.
All right. So if you listen to him,
remember he's Fenton Ferguson's son, you know.
I don't know him personally, believe it. But if you listen to him, one of the things that he mentioned was speaking with the private sector, was their consultation. And I came to the view today that one of the things that they have done is that they have met with their friends in private sector to be as loud as they can in their objection to NaRRA and their supposed concerns regarding NaRRA. And in addition to that, part of the reason those in the private sector, such as the Denai Williams, I can call him, because I've observed that he's usually in the fray, in the mix of, you know, when the PNP is in power, he gets a large amount of contracts, right? People like them, when you hear the concerns being put forward about not seeing anything in the bill for private sector entity, there are things in the bill for private sector, right? But they are concerned that the inordinately large amount of contracts that they would normally have gotten, and the cost overrun that they are able to put forward to say we have, you know, gone over. They are not going to be able to do this. And when you listen to them, if you listen to the undertone, there is a lot of talk about money. So you notice they keep on talking about billions of dollars. So as far as they can see, it's not Jamaica's development. It's billions of dollars flowing. And how can we get some of it? Not only us, but our friends. That is their primary concern.
Well,
it is not about Jamaica's development. Yes, sir.
I have a surprise for my listeners. The moderator is here, and she should be off for the weekend, but I guess she wants to come in and say hi to the listener. Remember Harry?
No, it's me she missed. It's me she missed.
Caroline, how are you?
doing good. How are you?
Well, I'm going to ask if you can just open your camera. Let me see where you are, so that
Oh well.
I will.
I am actually. Can you see me?
No, I can't see you. Your camera is closed.
Huh?
Your camera is closed.
No, it's not.
No, I'm not. Yet it is closed. I'm not seeing. Oh, there she is. Now, if you are on TikTok, look at.
Well, here I am.
Yes, there is.
I hope never noticed that my hair is combed.
That's the devil. Oh Lord, my goodness. Look at the comments coming here on TikTok. Remember Harry?
Neighbor, that is unfair, neighbor, because she wait until I'm on YouTube.
Stay with me. Stay with me. Gustav, come back. Let me just put up the. Oh, there she is. Well, listeners, let me introduce you to the Politics Plus. Well, see, Harry has jumped over here. He has 2 pages. How are you? How are you enjoying your How are you enjoying your time off?
Very good. I'm having a good time. Oh, my children are here, so I'm hanging out with them in New York for Mother's Day weekend.
Well, that's fantastic.
So, Renee, hi. Everybody, this is Renee.
Oh. Hi, Renee. Hi. Hi. Oh, great.
And this is Monique.
Hi, Monique. They're great.
So those are my children.
Wow. Boy, if you stay with us, we're gonna have staggering numbers.
Oh dear.
The back. Oh, Shady said, "Wow." Hey, sassy.
Neighbor, the hairstyle is hairstyle by Harry, you know.
Is Harry's hairstyle?
I can't hear you, neighbor. What did you say?
Is it Harry's hairstyle?
What do you mean?
No, Harry's saying that he well, I don't know. His boutique.
I'm sorry?
They're going all crazy over you, Caroline. They're just going crazy. Your background is a little noisy.
Well, neighbor, they can finally put a face to the name and the voice, huh?
Yes, they can.
Oh, okay.
Well, there she is, listeners. There she is. Oh, well, thank you. Thank you for the distraction.
Of course. All right. Okay, guys. I'll see you all next week.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye. Well, I had to take a screenshot. Because I had to take a screen. Harry?
Mr. President, you know, you really need.
Boy, Harry, what a distraction.
On TikTok.
Hey, you're breaking up. There's a Harry. Waterman is here, you know. He's dying over there. Okay, good to see you. You're so beautiful. Angela, beautiful. Oh, enjoy. Oh, okay. Caroline look like Lisa Hannah. G Money, enjoy Caroline. Hello, Caroline. She's so sweet. Noblet Samuels. Okay, yes, Karen. All right. Okay. Never sending flowers. Harry, advice on the hairstyle. Sweet children. Very nice. Very nice. Well, after that distraction, a little bit of a distraction. Joshua? Joshua? Well, he's gone.
Neighbor, Joshua just went to TikTok. Joshua, leave me alone.
Yes, I tell you the truth. Joshua have to run and come over to TikTok to see her.
I'm back. I'm back.
You okay, Joshua?
Oh my! I had to get a piece of string and tie up my heart. You know.
Did you see her, sir?
Yes, I had to get a piece of string and tie up my heart. You know.
What happened to your heart?
That's why I don't think of the heart you tie up in. I think of the mouth to how your mouth drop.
What happened to your heart, Joshua?
Boy, my heart and my mouth went down, you know.
Oh boy, Joshua. You see, you can imagine you put a face to the voice now, eh? Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to
Oh, by the way, there's an echo, neighbor. I don't know why.
well, I don't know. Shefreen, yeah, I'm hearing the echo too, but it's not on my side at all. I'm okay over here. I'm okay. All right, 24 minutes to 10 o'clock. Of course, we leave you at 10 o'clock. We're gonna jump back over to YouTube. On YouTube, we have.
Oh, I found out why. I actually had TikTok open and didn't realize.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was coming from my end, Joshua, because I was split screen with both TikTok and YouTube.
Oh, I see.
Yes.
All right.
Okay. So Harry, let me start with you. How do you think that at this point, from this point on, the politics of NaRRA will begin to take shape? Because progress for the government, the bill is now through, the legislation is now passed. Would you help us to understand what happens next?
So it's a simple process right after neighbor. So because it would have gone through the Senate, which is the upper house, it really, without any provocation from the opposition, this is going straight to the DG, which is the Governor General, to sign off on it for it to actually be passed and become, take its next state as legislation. And no, it should be placed in the Gazette for the public to look at. I'm not sure what time frame that will be done, but I know they normally place it there so the public can have an idea as to what was passed, and then it will become legislation thereafter. But of course, the fact that it didn't go to a select committee, which the People's National Party really wanted it to go to, something, by the way, neighbor, which takes sometimes 12 to 20 months. And we don't have that type of time at all, because we're heading into an active hurricane season soon as well.
Yes.
Right? And this money is time sensitive. So we need to be logical and forthcoming with what our reality is as a state. One of the major things as well is that money, neighbor, and I'm going to be plain and straight with it. There's a lot of money right now in the market globally that needs to go somewhere, that needs to be invested. And Jamaica is a prime real estate, not just in the Caribbean region, but in the Latin America and Caribbean region, neighbor. And I'm not speaking money just from the Americas, from the US and so on. I'm speaking from other markets that we've seen, different ministries has had conversation with. Money coming from Africa, Central Asia, Eastern Asia, Middle East, which is something we've never really tapped into. These are some serious money, neighbor, that needs to go places, and they have confidence in Jamaica to be able to want to put a potential $6.7 billion package together just for us. And I think we have to ensure that we do this quickly, but of course correctly. And NaRRA is there to ensure that happens. And of course, NaRRA answers to the parliament just the same. Of course, the necessary institutions for oversight are in several ministries that will also watch over it. Specifically, we have the PAC, which is chaired by the opposition. There will also be, by my memory, neighbor, an opposition on one of the boards, selected opposition person. So there's a lot of oversights right throughout, neighbor, that is there to help us to execute this on an international level, because this is no longer by Jamaican standards, but rather international standards that we're being held. And it is very, very time sensitive. We have to ensure that this money goes to the right areas to start growth, to put back dignity in those 5 parishes for persons who would have been devastated. And one of the things I want to point out regarding why I say that is the People's National Party and its surrogates and followers, neighbor, need to understand that those parishes that were affected, the people don't necessarily want handouts anymore, right? It is not how much money them can get from a program like this, because if you give out money, you have to find a way to repay it, right? And while we may have favorable rates and so on, we want to ensure that we teach a man how to fish and not give him a fish. And that is what NaRRA will also help, because if you can get these people to help rebuild their country, neighbor, you got the masonries, the plumbers, all of these construction workers, they're earning a living consistently, specifically over the next minimum 3 years with these projects. And as such, a man can build back his house, because let's be honest, neighbor. The government job to build back 180,000 houses. The government is there to give you opportunities so you can do that as well. The government will go so far, can do so much and no more. But at the end of the day, giving these people the opportunity to instill back that level of dignity, because you can't tell a man not know anymore work, him hard earn money in a neighbor and put up his house, you know. That is the pride in his work, the sweat of his bro neighbor that he built this, right? Not some handout kind of settings. And I think that is something that will also change the perception of not just the Western parishes, but change overall standing of Jamaica. And even those who are complaining about maybe the quality of work, who knows, maybe unemployment rate goes down almost next to zero when all these activities and projects start to kickstart the right way, neighbor. And just understand that this is going to be a continuous development for the next 3 to 4 years. And I think we're going to see a psychological change in a lot of people right across the board for Jamaica. And that's what we really want. We're going to see a major growth in the people themselves, which is run linear to the level of construction that we're going to see, buildings and so on. But the most important thing is that these people will be empowered through NaRRA one way or another.
Well, that's fantastic. Someone is asking if the debate is now finished on the bill. The parliamentary part of it is now done. Joshua?
In a structured way it is. And when I say structured way, in terms of the entire House being involved. But it can come up as an agenda item because any member, including private member, can move a motion.
Ashley, check your message for me. That's Ashley in the chat. Check your message, Ashley. Ashley, SYM. Oh, that's good stuff. All right, so Ashley, check your messages. Go ahead, Joshua.
Any member can submit a motion to do a presentation. I don't remember the term of reference right now. So it can be mentioned, and I suspect that the PNP will want to keep it alive. Not alive in terms of the positives of NaRRA, but want to be expressing concerns, although unfounded. Right? And I'm not saying that. And the Prime Minister in his speech today, the Prime Minister gave a speech at the groundbreaking of a housing development in St. Thomas. And he alluded to it that he agrees that there must be checks and balances, but we must also understand he made three statements, and I believe that it was connected. You know, he mentioned about fast Jamaica, and he spoke about predictability, coherency, and strategic outlook. So with NaRRA, having a predictability, coherency, and strategic outlook, what you find out is that the Prime Minister also stated that whilst having these components, he's not saying that we should be reckless, and I'm just paraphrasing, in not having parameters and guardrails, but we must have the necessary tools to move forward speedily. So when you see the PNP coming to Parliament, and they will come back to Parliament, it is no two ways about it, right? In fact, when they plan to move this court case, which will inevitably happen, It's for two reasons. One, to show their legal prowess, because they tend to want to brag on that. One of the founding fathers of the PNP, which is Norman Manley, was a lawyer, and they like to remain strong in that tradition. And two, it's to hold up the process, right? And so this will come back to Parliament nonetheless. As it relates to the entire House being engaged in it, no, I don't suspect it will, unless there's a need.
Fantastic. All right. I wonder if we have listeners who want to join the debate. We have a few minutes left to go. The NaRRA bill passed in Parliament today. Which of my listeners want to come up? There are so many of you that I see in the chat that have sent a request. I don't know which one to add. Let me accept this one here.
And while you're contemplating adding that listener,
yes,
neighbor, unfortunately, Harry stated that the debate on EPOC hopefully will die now. You know the PNP as well as I do, they're going to find a way to spin the narrative. So it will not die. The PNP like to have talking points. The transformation of the economy, the downward trajectory of the debt, the accountability framework that was set in place to bring back Jamaica from the brink was put in place by Bruce Golding. But when you listen to the PNP, even in Parliament or the Senate, you have no idea that it was the JLP that put things in motion. They always begin at Peter Phillips.
Yes.
Right? And it began 2 years before Peter Phillips came. Well, in fact, not in 2 years, 3 years before Peter Phillips came into the picture. But PNP will never mention that because it's not convenient. So I don't expect PNP to be honorable enough to drop it, to say, boy, you know, this was exposed, and one of the very architects of the thing, the very architect, the person who was behind it, mentioned it. So let us drop it now because we can't go further. The PNP is going to find a way to put a spin on it. So just putting it out there.
Well, one of the things, you know, Joshua and Mr. President, you know, I probably use a few hours and put something together for the neighbor rights as it regard to the guardrails that are within NaRRA itself. I think we want to finally shut down that debate about, you know, there's no accountability and it's so centralized and there's no transparency. I'll put a few hours in, neighbor, and I'm publicly saying it because I'm holding myself to it, to just highlight to the people of Jamaica what are these specific guardrails in terms of the institutions that are already existed, right? Yes. And I want to stress already existed in a neighbor, because what the People's National Party is trying to do is to say, not to operate as if we already have these things. So they want to turn a blind eye on the people to say, listen, NaRRA is going to be ahead of all of these things, and none of these things can hold NaRRA together. But NaRRA is just incorporated within the existing structure that we have. It is just helping to put certain things forward by utilizing the very systems and framework that we have, right? It is no different from driving a car, neighbor. You know you're going to race. Your normal car can't win the race, but you add a little turbo to it. That is the imagery I want people to have an understanding for NaRRA. It is just bringing things together to give the existing framework a boost to move faster with same high level accountability. Transparency is right there, and I want to do it because I don't want people to still, you know, when they're having this discussion in their private time and so on, or with other people, they can draw on these things and finally help kill this debate about there's no accountability and so on. When you already have it, we don't need to add more accountability. What you will do if you keep creating more oversight and whatever, you will end up with what we saw based on Dr. Dawes would have put forward regarding Bahamas, how Bahamas failed. We would have been just giving additional people a payday every single month until this is executed. And we don't want that. We want the resources to be targeted and we already have the competent persons. So I'll put something together for the people regarding that as well.
So remember, Harry, you, myself, of course, the president himself, and all well-thinking Jamaicans want that for Jamaica. The PNPs, even though they put forward the word accountability, it's just a word that is being bandied about. And it's a code word to, as I wrote here today and listening to the debate in Parliament, and I was toggling between it and the Prime Minister's presentation at the time. I wrote down this that it's a deliberate ploy to create bottleneck to make money, right? Because what happened, the whole idea is to build such a level of distrust in the creation of NaRRA so that nobody wants it anymore while the people suffer. And when the people suffer now, then the PNP will have an opportunity to. The same PNP will now have an opportunity to point a finger because the PNP realize that they have no legs, no reasonable legs to stand on to say, hey, we don't like NaRRA. They can't come up front and say we don't like NaRRA because NaRRA is not just a rebuilding tool. If that was the case, then UDC could have done what NaRRA is doing because UDC was originally created for that. NaRRA is intended to pull everybody together, the different ministries, and to get it done quickly so that people's lives and livelihood can be restored to a sense of normalcy, right? And PNP doesn't have space for that because it will make them irrelevant and redundant in the eyes of the Jamaican people. And so all of this is a stalling mechanism and hopefully to derail the entire process. Right, so that they can point a finger to say, see, this is why you have to choose us because hurricane came, your life was never rebuilt. When in truth and in fact, as Chops Media like to say, that you set the house on fire and then call the fire brigade afterwards and say, I was the one that saved you. When in truth and in fact, they started the fire.
Okay, we have two callers. We're going to give them 2 minutes each, starting with Mr. Waterman and then go over to Gustav, and then we come back to member Harry and member Joshua to wrap tonight's program. Go ahead, Mr. Pitt.
Thank you, Neighbor, and Harry and Joshua. I just want to be actually clear about the passage of the bill because what I gathered today is that it sounded like they said it passed a committee in the Senate and that there seems as if there would be another vote before it goes to the GG. So that's what I want to be clear on because based on what I read, the Senate will debate it and then once it's passed, it goes to the GG. But what I gather again today is that it's like a committee of the Senate that it passed, not the full Senate. I don't know.
Member Harry, you could check on that for me, eh?
I will, neighbor.
Okay, sir.
All right, that's all. Thank you, guys.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sue. Thank you too, sir. Okay. My friend from St. Elizabeth.
Top of the night to you, neighbor.
Top of the night to you.
And to your loyal listeners and those on the FYP.
Mm-hmm.
Well, neighbor, I basically just double down on some utterances that would have been made already, some from Joshua and also Harry. And I will use a idiom to describe how the PNP is treating the NaRRA bill. And the idiom would be, they're kicking the can down the road. Basically, kicking the can down the road, literally. And it is to the pain and dismay of the Jamaican people who are really suffering the most. And it is really sad to see that the bill that has been brought forward, which is the NaRRA bill, is being used as a indirect political football. Now, indirect because, yes, the PNP may have what you call some good grounds in terms of opposing certain components. Notwithstanding, though, neighbor, even though they have good grounds in opposing a few components of the NaRRA bill, it doesn't discredit or take away the merits of the bill and the way how they tossed it to the people. It would almost come in like it's a overall flawed proposal in the form of the NaRRA bill. Not not portraying it to the people as if it is good for them, regardless of any irregularity that they would have spotted, if any. And I would say, if any irregularity. So they would use that to broad brush it to make it appear as if the bill is so flawed, it must not be supported. And then now, for the short-sighted Jamaican who does not understand current affairs but rely on the PMP to fetch them their current affairs information, they are being taken for a ride politically. And these people are being reserved politically just in case they will be needed in an election period to say, hey, see, we stopped a bill because the JLP wanted to do this. And that's not the case, but because the people are short-sighted, they are being played upon by this movement. And it is rather remorseful. That's the reality of the day.
Well, my friend, you need to give me a ring, you know. I want to talk to you.
Most definitely, man. You know what I mean? I'm still around neighbor, and I will always be tuning into the current affairs, but especially here, because it is more rigorously delved into somewhat. So I will definitely be more prevalent once the time is convenient.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, man.
All right. We will go now to member Harry for his closing thoughts, and member Joshua over on YouTube. Member Joshua, go first, and then member Harry, you close out with my friends on YouTube as we hit the close tonight. Go first, member Joshua.
Thank you very much, sir. Now, listening to the debate today in the Senate, a couple of things came to my mind, and a couple of things caught my attention. The Cabangelos and notable trade unions and noted trade unionists made a suggestion for performance measurement to ensure that people get the greatest value for money. In other words, whoever is going to be involved in NaRRA, whether it be from an administrative level or be contractors connected to NaRRA or employed by NaRRA, there should be performance measurement by which they'll be judged by. He also mentioned that the workers and professionals will be evaluated. He also mentioned that NaRRA will hold consultation with those that are affected and likely to be affected. And we must keep that in mind. So the government is not just getting up through NaRRA to just decide that they want to do this alone. Yes, the government will have their own ideas, but there is consideration that will be given to those who have been directly impacted. And I want to use this opportunity to mention to persons that whereas the opposition want to give the impression that there is nothing in it that mentions anything about the poor people, NaRRA is not an housing institution. It's not an insurance institution either. The government has provision in place in other areas to ensure that assistance is given to persons who have been affected.
From the government budget. From the government budget.
From the government budget and from the NHT. The roofs program is one such thing. Minimum of $75,000, maximum of $500,000. The NHT has a component wherein that you can get up to $500,000 for both pensioners and current contributors can get up to $3.5 million in terms of, well, there's a $500,000 grant and a $3.5 million loan at 2% for those who have been impacted. So there is no need to get NaRRA involved in these things. NaRRA was not for that purpose. NaRRA is a tool for reconstruction and a pathway to get the country back on track. He also mentioned that reconstruction can become a pathway for the working people of the country. And that is critical because remember Harry mentioned about we will have need for labor. And a couple months ago, I had mentioned similarly. In fact, I do believe that we're going to have a shortage of labor. And I'm saying this in advance. And not only a shortage of member, but I believe that even at present, even though we do have the unemployment rate notched up a little bit, it is going to be reduced even much lower than it was before. And that's what the PNP's major fear is. The Bernard mentioned about Catherine Hall and other areas that patiently are waiting. And I find it ironical that he mentioned about Catherine Hall patiently waiting. By the way, he's from the West, so he should know. But while he mentioned that they are patiently waiting, they are the same party who is seeking to drag out the process to make it lengthy. So if you are well aware that they're patiently waiting, yet you're dragging it out, we can only conclude that you really don't care about the pain of the people who you so eloquently debated that they're patiently waiting. You know, and I want Jamaican to keep that in mind. He mentioned about the pipe and water, that the government had promised pipe and water through the ministry by Matthew Samuda, right? And he's criticizing it that NaRRA may be the tool to use this to get this going. I find that as being a very flawed reasoning by any stretch of the imagination, because a government's responsibility is to provide infrastructure, opportunities, and other things, other amenities for its people, and whatever means they have available to get the job done. Whether it was posited before a disaster, during a disaster, after the disaster, the fact is the government's job is to help to fix an existing problem that is within their power to do so. So if NaRRA is going to be used as a tool, what it means is that it's going to speed up the process and get it done quicker. So I find no problem with that. So I am saying to those who are listening, judge the PNP on this. You know, the PNP has majored in what the Prime Minister called, well, not the Prime Minister, I saw it somewhere today, bureaucratic paralysis. Wherein what they do, and the Prime Minister did say this, is spend so much time thinking that slowness is efficiency, when slowness really is a bundling and a creation for corruption. Because what you do, what you find out in a lot of this ministry, is that people deliberately obstruct it and then come to you around the corner and say, boy, since you're waiting so long, give me a thing now. And I suspect that in addition to the PNP trying to save themselves, they're also trying to create opportunities for their friends who survived through these things to survive this way. We saw the primary example with Dennis Gordon and the UA hospital thing, where he being connected with UA and Dr. Dawes, he knew what the examples were and brought in machines. And as I told you, that I was told by Mr. Uriel Sr., so I can call his name, that while he was there to do dialysis, someone came to him privately and told him that the machines are not working until I told him otherwise. And he got angry with them. And the person was directing him to Dennis Gordon's place while they were telling him that the machine's not working at UA. And UA has adequate machines. So this is part of the process and the journey and the strategy of the PNP to slow down the process, to make things seem inefficient so that they can come out as shining knights. I say to Jamaicans, don't be duped by the PNP. The government has everything to lose by causing corruption to be a part of this. So if they have everything to lose, if corruption is going to be a part of NaRRA, then it will go against them. So they have, with that said, they're going to do all they can to ensure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, and that Jamaica does benefit from NaRRA. NaRRA is not a run with it mechanism, but rather it's a reconstruction, rebuilding, and a betterment tool for the greater good of those who were affected, those who are to be affected, and for all Jamaicans. Stay on board, push back against the PNP and their lies, and think Jamaica first instead of politics. Have a good night. It was good being with your neighbor and member Harry and Lady Sheffrey holding the fort, and for your guests.
Thank you so much. Have a great
You're welcome.
weekend, Joshua.
Thank you, sir.
Member Harry, wrap it up for us and close out on YouTube for me. Thank you.
Definitely will, Mr. President. Thanks for the opportunity to close out. But it's been a very long process, neighbor, in terms of both houses. I think there's never been a bill of this nature that has garnered so much attention from its people, right? And that's a good thing to see. I love it. I hope it continues with all other bills. But what I want people to understand is that, and specifically those who are affected, neighbor, in the West, the 5 parishes, is that NaRRA is there to reinforce, to strengthen, to improve, to develop, and to ensure that you are never left to the nature of what systems can come about. What I mean by that is you aren't left susceptible to the damages as before, right? So no, when these things are carried out, infrastructure put into place, areas unlock, new opportunities come to the fray, people's lives taking a different turn, you are now by nature and innately be more resilient. You are no longer looking to be a victim at the same level you were prior to NaRRA. And that speaks volume as to what the government is trying to do for its people, right? It is also looking to strengthen institutions in terms of brick and mortar so that you aren't left, wondering what next. And that is for the rest of the country. Of course, Mr. President, we were looking to have a new KPH, which is very good. And a lot of other, specifically in terms of the health sector, a lot of other buildings to come up. And that is to help the population. Now, the opposition wants to spew the idea of housing. NaRRA isn't a housing mechanism. It's not a housing machinery. And I put this question in for the opposition so the people can hear and ask the same question is, even with these houses being given to people, where would they put them? Right? Because there's a land issue, there's tenure land issue, which the opposition speaks on, which they created this land issue, by the way. So let's not fool ourselves. And as such, you get the idea, the more this goes on, the more the opposition puts their foot in their mouth. And I want the people to see that. But bringing it home with the bill, neighbor, this is another tick for the Jamaican people. We ticked it off in the lower house. It's ticked off now. And as it relates to the breakout and answering the other question, it's going to go in terms of the committee to vote on the clauses that were submitted. I don't believe all clauses were submitted in time as well. But those clauses will be voted on and then the bill moves on to become legislation, all things considered. Now, this is another victory, neighbor, for Jamaica. Because what this shows is that the democracy works, right? It gives everybody the opportunity, including the opposition, to air out everything. Sometimes they do violate a lot of standing orders and so on. But at the end of the day, we're realizing that this administration has the best interest at heart for its Jamaican people, for Jamaica to finally move forward, for Jamaica to achieve again, and also to put Jamaica in a position where any opportunity comes from global entities, we can put our people firmly forward to say we can take opportunity for that. For example, STEM schools are coming in, science, technology, engineering, and math. That's not something Jamaica was really known for in terms of us bringing a structure to promote that. So that also shows the administration is putting Jamaica in the direction, right, that the rest of the world is already in. And yes, we're late to the class, but at least we're getting there. And this shows that the administration is putting Jamaica firmly on the global scale once and for all again. And this time, not just putting it there for showcase, but to ensure that it has value, it has impact, and it stays off the menu and have a firm seat at the table. And I think that is what people need to understand. That comes with NaRRA. There are some things in NaRRA that you cannot put in a bill because you can't put the change of a life of an individual and how it will change their lives in a bill. You can't dictate what culture will be created for Jamaica. You can measure the value of what each will put forward. And these are things you need to extract out of NaRRA by looking at what it does for you as the individual and how you in turn ensure that in businesses we call them the KPIs, neighbor, right? The key performance index, how you contribute that, which then moves Jamaica to its ultimate goal. And I think people need to understand that, they need to embrace it, and they need to defend it with every single breath of their being, because this is for you. Jamaica is for you. And the future, if you want to be a part of it, you have to embrace this to its entirety. So I say to all Jamaicans, you know, look at what is there for you. Look at how you can set yourself for it. Look at what the administration is doing and state your vote. You don't have to publicly go to the polls now and put a vote. We are at that stage. But put your vote and a vote of confidence in the administration to do you right, because they have done so for the last decade. And that is something we can't we can't look at it to say, no, they haven't done good by Jamaica. They've done so for Melissa. They've done so for COVID, right? They're handling the affairs that you give them responsibility over, and they have not yet failed you, and they're not planning to fail you now. So you have to embrace the change that's coming, be a part of the change that you want to see, and we hold together as a nation. We stand together in brotherhood. The thing is, in brotherhood and peace, we will do that as a nation once and for all. Your brother's keeper, and ensure that we defend this administration with everything we have. And for YouTubers, another beautiful night. Happy to be with you. You know, the numbers keep going up. I'm happy for that. It means that we're hitting, you know, areas that we've never probably dreamt of before. And you guys are doing it with every like, with every share, with every subscription. But I want to say again, like each and every night, tell a friend to tell a friend, and have that friend tell a friend. And remember, church is on the weekend, so you can take Politics Plus to church, because we're a family program, and as such we're spreading the good news through conversations that matter. So the whole congregation can like, share, and subscribe Politics Plus. And I sign out on that, Mr. President.
Well, Member Harry, we had a great week here between Monday to today, Friday, and we covered a lot of areas, Member Harry. And we want to appeal to our listeners tonight to support the program, eh?
Always in a neighbor. You can always support in many different ways. That's the beauty about it, you know, with every, like I said, with every subscription, every share, every like, for those who can contribute over there on TikTok. TikTok family, I haven't forgotten you, but of course I can't leave my YouTube family, you know, by themselves. Over here is warm and cozy. So maybe you guys will ultimately come over very soon. But of course, you know, whatever you can give, you give to support the program itself. This is not for us in terms of personally, but this is to keep a program like this running, something that is nowhere else coming out of Jamaica. And that speaks to it's not just NaRRA coming out of Jamaica, we are too. So it is done through each and every contribution as well, neighbor.
Want to thank you, Member Harry. Your contribution is as usual very incisive and very, very good. We're going to be back here on Sunday. We're going to be off tomorrow. Well, are we going to be off? We'll talk to the moderator to see what's happening. We're going to be back here on Sunday, though. Sunday is Mother's Day, and so we're going to have a nice little program for our mothers Sunday morning at 7 o'clock. We'll be on sharing with all our mothers. If you want to send a WhatsApp to the show, it's 876-858-9553. If you want to make a contribution and you are on YouTube, the information is going across your screen. Please support the Politics Plus program with your gifts so that we can show up back here on Monday. If you're on TikTok, Thank you so much. 954-635-8732. That's the Zelle account. Any gift, any contribution is appreciated. And of course, you see that we are doing our best to keep you informed and to keep you connected to life here in Jamaica and giving you conversations that matter. Shafreen?
Neighbor, before we sign off, I just want to read the super chat from Dwayne Hendricks. He says, "Big up yourself, neighbor. Love the show."
Yeah. Oh, that's on YouTube.
On YouTube, yeah.
Well.
My neighbor, oh, sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, just a moment before you go. What I think the government could do, or the JLP could do in this regard, in terms of sensitizing Jamaicans in regards to the NaRRA bill in a more wider way, similarly to how the JLP would have created a booklet outlining its achievement and so forth. I think it would be a good idea if they were to compile a small booklet outlining the objectives of the NaRRA bill and so forth, and what it intends to achieve for the Jamaican people and so forth. So compilation of a booklet outlining details in a paraphrased way to Jamaicans so it could be easily understood. It must be written in a one way where it can be easily understood by the average man who rather to read a little bit into the booklet as to what's the NaRRA bill about, its objectives, and so forth. And also, what they can do, because it is modern time, they can temporarily create just a TikTok page and call it NaRRA without audio or somebody visual audio outlining components of the bill, its objectives, and so forth. And we are here as bloggers and supporters to double down on it and expatiate on information where necessary and so forth. So capitalize on it. It is too good a bill for Jamaica and Jamaicans for just a little group of people to sweep it or try to sweep it under the carpet as if it is not something worthy for the people. So I think it could be a way where it is paraphrased in a booklet and we can read for ourselves, and it is given to JLP MPs only. Let me tell you why JLP MPs only. It would make any sense, practical sense, giving it to PMP MPs who would have voted against the bill. They will not distribute these booklets. So just give it to your MPs. And let me tell a neighbor, it doesn't matter how people feel and say government prejudice or partisans. Reality we are faced. We're not going to go around and beat around the bush with this. The PMP are not for the bill. They voted against it to show. But still, it should not be a deterrent for the Jamaica Labour Party to compile a booklet outlining the NaRRA bill, its details and objectives. And don't give it to no PMP MP. They don't want it, nor their surrogates and minions. We, patriotic Jamaicans, will need it. And also the supporters of the Jamaica Labour Party, who are also likewise patriotic Jamaicans. Neighbor, it's just the reality of the day.
Okay, sir. Thank you so much.
Homage, sir.
All right, cool. All right, thank you so much. All right, Shafreen, you're on YouTube. Shafreen.
Hi, neighbor.
How are you?
I am well. How are you?
Thank you for this week. Thank you for holding things down for us this week.
That's fine. It's all good.
Yeah, man. Have a great night. Take care of yourself and all your friends over there on YouTube.
Thank you, and same to you. Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. And bye, YouTube. Take care of yourselves, everyone.